Chapter 1232. In August, the weather became incomparably hot. All of Bugu Mountain seemed to have turned into charcoal. The plants on the mountain were constantly evaporating from the heat, and even the branches were beginning to droop. Bugu Mountain was the place where Cangnan Gong Su Jiantao had died in battle. Now, countless craftsmen were moving wood up the mountain. A long time ago, Qin Yin had ordered the construction of an ancestral hall for Su Jiantao on Bugu Mountain. Now that the money had finally arrived, construction could begin. On the mountain peak, Lin Sun, Zhang Wei, Guanxing, and the others were wearing robes and armor. They were herding their horses on a flat grassland. Further away, a person was sitting on a giant rock. It was Feng Jixing, who was cultivating the martial god technique. Damn, the weather is so hot that I'm dying. Zhang Wei took off his armor as he said, "It's such a hot day, yet the commander is sitting so high up to cultivate. Isn't he afraid that the hot rocks will burn his buttocks?" Lin Sun couldn't help but laugh. "Do you think the commander is you? The commander's cultivation is so much stronger than yours and mine. This temperature is nothing to him." Luo Yu frowned. "Have you realized that ever since the commander started cultivating on the mountain yesterday, the temperature on Bugu Mountain has increased significantly? Today, it's almost impossible to stay here." Zhang Wei was taken aback. "You mean, it was the commander who turned Bugu Mountain into a furnace?" "I'm just saying that it's possible." Everyone looked at Feng Jixing in the distance. They saw him sitting there like a stone statue, not moving at all. His brows were slightly furrowed, but there seemed to be something strange around him. That's right, there was something strange. The wind began to blow. Although it was only a gentle breeze, it made everyone feel a boundless coldness and violence. In the blink of an eye, the wind became stronger and stronger, causing many branches on Mount Bugu to snap. Even a royal flag nearby had been snapped. Everyone's faces paled and Luo Yu shouted, "Everyone, hide behind the rocks to avoid the strong winds. Quick!" The craftsmen all dodged. Zhang Wei and the rest, on the other hand, circulated their dou qi to resist this gust of wind. All of them were still looking at Feng Jixing. Everyone knew that this kind of change in heaven and earth was definitely caused by someone, and the person who could cause this kind of change in the laws of wind was probably only him. Sure enough, an invisible force pulled Feng Jixing's body into the air. Beams of golden light condensed into a huge image of a deity. It was a Dharma body. About half a minute later, the Dharma body descended from the sky and entered Feng Jixing's body. Thunder rumbled in the air as the heavenly melody scroll slowly unfurled. Goddess Nuwa's Dharma body appeared. She looked at Feng Jixing with a gentle gaze. "Feng Jixing, you are upright, courageous, and decisive. Now that you have gained the approval of the heavenly melody scroll, you will be granted a second-tier superior god Dharma body. You will be given the title God of Wind. You will wield the heavenly Tao of wind and be granted the ability to control the wind. May you uphold the heavenly Tao and continue to fight for the world." Feng Jixing's body was enshrouded in bright golden divine light. He slowly knelt on one knee in the air and said respectfully, "Thank you, Goddess Nuwa. Feng Jixing will never bring shame to the heavenly Tao of Mahayana." Nuwa smiled from ear to ear. Her Dharma body slowly dispersed. Feng Jixing jumped down from the clouds. The two sabers at his waist clanked against each other. Luo Yu, Zhang Wei, Guanxing, and Lin Sun quickly knelt down. They cupped their fists and said, "Greetings, Commander, greetings, righteous God." Feng Jixing nodded happily. "No need to stand on ceremony. Since this is the case, I'll be leaving too." Zhang Wei was stunned. "Commander, you're leaving just like that?" "Yes. We don't know what's happening in the heaven realm. Above the shattered cauldron realm is the heaven realm. If the heaven realm is damaged, all of us will be damaged. Moreover, you, Her Highness Yin, and Princess, she might need my meager strength. Then, what about the shattered cauldron realm? What about the celestial pole continent? Commander, once you leave, what about these 21 provinces? Guohuili has already sent people from the Congress to take over the government affairs of the celestial pole continent. Rest assured. You just need to restrain the troops under you." Feng Jixing nodded. I'll inform Guohuili and let him manage this land carefully. If he oversteps his boundaries, I can descend to take his head at any time. Then we can rest assured. Lin Sun smiled cheerfully. Feng Jixing nodded. Then let's do it this way. The 4 of you will be in charge of the various armies of the celestial pole continent. You must obey my orders. Otherwise, I will descend to teach you a lesson. Yes, Commander. The 4 of them laughed. Then, I should be leaving too. Feng Jixing raised his head and looked at the sky. Suddenly, with a whistling sound, his body turned into a tempest and soared into the sky. Suddenly, the sky darkened, and the tempest broke through the golden heavenly gate. Feng Jixing's body turned into rays of light and entered the heavenly gate. Thunder roared and lightning flashed. Strong gales blew, and the world was in a state of turbulence. This lasted for close to 2 minutes before it stopped. After it stopped, it immediately became calm again. The power of gods was always so hard for mortals to reach. Zhang Wei looked at the sky and licked his lips. I wonder if I, old Zhang, will also be able to ascend to become a righteous god one day and live for 10,000 years. Then how worthless would righteous gods become? Luo Yu teased. Old Luo Yu brat. Zhang Wei's palm landed on Luo Yu's shoulder, causing him to break out in cold sweat. I, old Zhang, am at least stronger than you. Luo Yu grinned. Brute, let's go. Let's go down the mountain and return to our respective territories to take charge of the military affairs. We need to stabilize the military affairs of the various provinces before the news of Commander's ascension spreads. In the Eastern Heaven realm, a muffled thunder sounded in the sky above the Hall of Great Accomplishment. It was as if a hole had exploded in the sky. Following that, a storm began to swirl around as the power of the Mahayana heavenly path surged over. Ziyao stood in the main hall, the corner of her mouth curled into a beautiful arc. She said, Our Mahayana heavenly path wind god is here. On the side, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi smiled knowingly. It was very rare that Feng Jixing could actually comprehend the Mahayana heavenly path so quickly in this day and age where it was hard to find a Mahayana heavenly path god. His talent was indeed not to be underestimated. The 7 luminaries demon emperor had gone to the northern heaven realm to return the remains of the winter god's treasured mirror and would not be back for a while. As compensation, he had to help the northern heaven realm resist Mara's army for a while. Therefore, the eastern heaven realm was now under the control of Ziyao, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi. Swoosh! A bolt of lightning condensed into a human figure in the sky, surrounded by raging winds. It was the figure of Feng Jixing. Even the armor he was wearing was the armor of the Qin Empire's marshal. Brother Feng, you're here. Qin Yin had already changed the way she addressed him. After all, this was the heaven realm, and Qin Yin would be Lin Muyu's wife in the future. Therefore, it was natural for her to change the way she addressed him. Feng Jixing turned around and landed on the glazed tiles of the Hall of Great Accomplishment. He knelt on one knee and said respectfully, Feng Jixing pays his respects to your Highness Yin and Princess Shi. There's no need to stand on ceremony. Qin Yin smiled and said, This is the God realm, no longer the Shattered Cauldron world. Our original identities are no longer the same. Brother Feng, you can just call me Xiao Yin. You don't have to call me your Highness anymore. This. Feng Jixing hesitated for a few seconds and stammered, Xiao Yin? Sai, forget it. I'll just call you your Highness Yin. Your Highness can call me whatever you want. Anyway, I, Feng Jixing, can't change the way I address you. Tang Xiaoxi giggled, Xiao Yin, let him be. Brother Feng has always been like this. At the side, Ziyao said, Feng Jixing, since you've been conferred the title of Wind God, I wonder what the Mahayana heavenly god power that you've mastered looks like. Can you demonstrate it to me so that I can confirm what kind of position in the god realm I'll give you? Feng Jixing was stunned. Do I need to demonstrate my talent for the position in the god realm? Of course. It's the same everywhere. Those who are suitable for offense will be the commander, and those who are suitable for defense and support will be in another position. What about you? What's your ability? Ziyao's eyes lit up. Obviously, she wanted to know how capable Feng Jixing, the wind god, Was. Feng Jixing nodded and smiled. Actually, I don't know how strong my ability is now. However, if Fairy Xiao wants to see it, let's see it together. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi also watched from the side with anticipation. Besides, Chu Chu, Sun Feng, Qin Ping, and the others also watched from afar. No one knew how capable wind god Feng Jixing was, but it would be clear soon. Swoosh! Feng Jixing stood majestically in the hall of great accomplishment. He opened his palms slightly, and wisps of white qi waves surged in his hands. They looked like compressed gusts of wind. Other than the gusts of wind, there were also small thunderbolts surging in his palms. However, no matter how one looked at it, it looked like a child's game. It was just a toy in his palms. However, at this moment, Feng Jixing suddenly let out a low roar. Instantly, a beam of light descended from the sky and tore through the clouds. On the distant Spirited Mountain, strong gusts of wind started to wreak havoc. The heavens and the earth turned dark. Thunderbolts fell, and the indestructible gusts of wind even tore apart the hard rocks on the Spirited Mountain. The gusts of wind condensed into invisible dimensional wind blades in the air. Moreover, they covered a very wide area. This was no longer a child's game. Oh my God! Xiao opened her small mouth. What a strong destructive power! It's really a gift from the heavens to the wind god of the Eastern Divine Realm. Feng Jixing suddenly retracted his 5 fingers. Suddenly, the destructive power of the storm in the distance disappeared as if it had never happened. The power of controlling the wind, how mysterious! Qin Yin's gaze was gentle. She smiled and said, "It seems that Brother Feng's power is purely offensive. It's extraordinary." Tang Xiaoxi nodded. "That's right." Ziyao said cheerfully, "Wind god Feng Jixing, I confer you the title of one of the Eastern Divine Realms marshals. Are you willing to do so? Although, we don't have many god-ranked soldiers right now." Feng Jixing smiled. "Of course I'm willing. I'll follow Fairy Ziyao's instructions." Although he had already obtained great power, Feng Jixing still maintained the humility and caution he had when he was in the mortal realm. He cupped his hands and said to Chu Chu, who was in another hall not far away, "Chu, it's been a long time." Chu Chu twirled his beard and smiled. "General Feng, it's been a long time too." Qin Yin suddenly smiled. Tang Xiaoxi tilted her head and asked with a smile, "Xiao Yin, what are you smiling about?" Qin Yin's voice was gentle. "We're only left with you and Sister Chu Yao. Previously, we said that our family would reunite in the God realm. It seems that it's going to happen soon. I just don't know when you will come back." "That's right. That guy, he's still not coming back. Where did you go?" Feng Jixing was stunned. "The Eternal Sword Domain. It said that he went to search for the strongest power." "Wow!" Feng Jixing took a deep breath. "I wonder how strong he will be when he comes back." Chapter 12:33. Eternal Sword Domain, late at night. Lightning flashed again 5 kilometers away from the back mountain of the Bright Sword Forest. This time, it was another match between 2 peerless experts. However, there were many more spectators this time. Elder Tianen Ria, Chang Wei, Shirhan, Ru Yen, and the others were all there. They stood quietly on a hill far away from the dense forest, watching the sword Qi and the domain collide in the distant sky. Sword Domain, as the name suggested, was a domain of the sword. Almost every sword domain was formed by countless sword Qi and sword intent. The power of the sword Dao determined the strength of the sword domain. At this moment, the 2 of them were about to be evenly matched. Boom! Lin Muyu raised her palm toward the sky. The moment it suddenly fell, it also brought with it a majestic sword Qi. It was as if it had cut the sky open. The power of the sword domain crushed down, and the surrounding forest collapsed. Even the ground sank a little. Arg! Not far away, Meng Taifeng was in the Eternal Sword Domain. He put his palms together and stood there like a god. He activated the power of the Eternal Sword Domain to resist Lin Muyu's mighty attack. For a moment, it was as if thousands of sharp swords were dancing around him. In the blink of an eye, they condensed into a huge sword that faced Lin Muyu head-on. Bang, bang, bang. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. The moment the two huge swords collided, the smaller swords destroyed each other and exploded. The air seemed to solidify. After a full 3 seconds, the two huge swords disappeared at the same time, turning into an awe-inspiring wave of air that rippled out. Everyone was caught off guard. The huge rock under their feet crumbled in the blink of an eye. This powerful wave of air had the power to destroy heaven and earth, and it almost turned the entire forest into a barren land. Be careful! Elder Tiannan flew forward and opened his palm, condensing a strong wall to protect Ria, Ru Yen, and the others behind him. Chang Wei was dumbfounded. My God, are these two even human? They are gods, not humans, Shirhan said. Enough. Let's stop here for today. Meng Tiefeng's face was hidden behind the mask. He cupped his fists and said, Young hero Lin, your sword realm has indeed surprised me. However, you still can't beat me. If we continue to fight like this, one of us will definitely be injured. Let's call it a day. I hope you can go back and train well. Otherwise, the next time we meet will be the day of your death. Lin Mu whistled and said with a bright smile, Yes, Mayor Meng. Meng Taifeng was shocked. How did you recognize me? Lin Mu said, In the entire Eternal Sword domain, apart from the City of Dawn's Lord, Meng Taifeng, no one else has such powerful sword domain power. City Lord Meng, although it's a draw this time, you've lasted at least 3 minutes longer than the last time. Meng Taifeng muttered, The increase in strength leads to the shortening of time. This is to be expected. Young hero, please go back and train well. Next time, I want to see you stronger. Otherwise, I will definitely kill you with my sword. Alright, farewell. Farewell. Meng Taifeng suddenly turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the horizon. Lin Muyu flew back to the crowd. She looked much calmer than Meng Taifeng. She said, Senior, what do you think of this match? Elder Tiannan stroked his beard and smiled. I'm afraid there's no one in this world who cares more about his reputation than Meng Taifeng. He clearly lost to you in terms of strength, but he still refuses to admit it. With your progress in understanding the AO sword technique, I'm afraid it will be even harder for Meng Taifeng to deal with your attacks next time. Next time, you will definitely win. Not necessarily. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, Meng Taifeng is also a rare genius. After I fought with him last time, I felt that I would definitely be able to defeat him next time. But this time, as you can see, I didn't really defeat him. Meng Tiefeng's cultivation has actually improved a lot in these 10 days. His strength has increased by at least 20%. It's really incredible. Elder Tiannan smiled. Since ancient times, the strongest have always been like this. The stronger they meet, the stronger they become. It's Meng Tiefeng's luck to meet an opponent like you. Otherwise, do you think he, the Lord of the City of Dawn, would come all the way to the Bright Sword Forest to learn from you? Lin Muyu nodded. Her face revealed a faint confidence and calmness. She said, It doesn't matter. In any case, Meng Taifeng will definitely lose the next time we fight. But since he cares so much about his reputation, I can't let him lose too badly. Otherwise, he will go back and commit suicide. That wouldn't be good. What do you plan to do, young hero? I don't know either. We can only wait and see. In the wee hours of the morning, a dart was shot into the mountain gate of the Bright Sword Forest. After shattering a stone pillar, it pierced through a disciple's chest and nailed him into a huge rock with blood stains on it. An animal skin paper was tied around the dart, and the words, Letter of Challenge, were written on it. The news quickly spread throughout the Bright Sword Forest. The letter of challenge from the Hunters' Alliance had finally arrived. Bright Sword Forest's main hall. Elder Tiannan unrolled the blood-stained scroll of his disciple. There were only a few words on it. I heard that the Bright Sword Forest has the intention to compete with our alliance. Therefore, I, Luo Xingji, will lead the alliance to attack the Bright Sword Forest in 3 days. I will present the head of the scoundrel Lin Muyu to Elder Tiannan. Otherwise, the Bright Sword Forest will be bathed in blood. Luo Xingji pays his respects. Buzz! A wisp of raging flame spread and burned the letter of challenge. Elder Tiannan smiled faintly. Luo Xingji, you've become more and more arrogant over the years. Now, you've become so unbridled that you no longer care about the Bright Sword Forest. Master, Shirhan said, since ancient times, we've always dealt with whatever comes our way. If the Hunters' Alliance dares to come, the Bright Sword Forest dares to fight. If we cower and advance, that's not the spirit of the Bright Sword Forest. Elder Tiannan smiled. My disciple, do you think that the Bright Sword Forest can defeat Luo Xingji's alliance? This, you also know that they can't. Why do you have to be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot? Master, what should we do? You don't have to do anything. Elder Tiannan looked at Lin Muyu, Leah, and the others who were seated in the VIP seats. He twirled his beard and smiled. The trouble from last time was caused by young hero Lin. Naturally, we'll leave this trouble to young hero Lin. If Luo Xingji leads the alliance to attack the mountain, the disciples of the Bright Sword Forest are only allowed to watch from the sidelines and are not allowed to fight. Let young hero Lin do the fighting. Chang Wei said softly, Damn, this old man is really heartless, Leah giggled. Lin Muyu stood up and cupped her fists. I'll follow Senior's orders. If Luo Xingji dares to attack the mountain, I can defeat them alone. Young hero, how do you plan to defeat the Hunters' Alliance with tens of thousands of people? Since Luo Xingji wants to die, I'll send him off. Ru Yen opened her mouth in shock. Lord Martial God wants to kill Luo Xingji? Yes. If Luo Xingji dies, the Hunters' Alliance will definitely collapse. I think that Meng Tiefeng's character is much better than Luo Xingji's. This is also a good thing. Lin Muyu said with a deep gaze. The Hunters are unscrupulous in killing people for food. This is already against the natural order. Dispersing them is also a good thing for the Eternal Sword domain. Elder Tiannan said, That's right. Dispersing the Hunters is indeed a good thing. However, does young hero Lin have the confidence to fight against 10,000 people alone? Lin Muyu smiled slightly. Senior, do you know why the AO sword technique is called the AO sword technique? The AO sword technique cultivates to be insufferably arrogant. As long as I want to, I can kill 100,000 people from the Hunters' Alliance by myself. Everyone was stunned. There were probably only 2 people in the Eternal Sword domain who had such arrogance. One was Lin Muyu, and the other was Meng Taifeng. It was just that Lin Muyu was a nobody in the Eternal Sword domain, while Meng Taifeng had long since become a grandmaster. The reason why Lin Muyu could be so arrogant was naturally related to the cultivation of the AO sword technique. Now that he had cultivated about 50% of the AO sword technique, his strength had greatly increased. He was even several times stronger than when he had first become a martial god. It would be strange if Lin Muyu was not arrogant. 3 days passed quickly. During these 3 days, Lin Muyu's cultivation of the AO sword technique had improved a lot. His cultivation was improving day by day. Even if he was sitting or sleeping, he could still cultivate the AO sword technique in his mind. During this period of time in the Bright Sword Forest, Lin Muyu had made the most progress. The 3rd day was the day of the Hunters' Alliance's attack. In the early hours of the morning, the disciples began to prepare. Although they did not participate in the battle, they were ready to fight. Lin Muyu was dressed like a Confucian scholar. He did not even bring the Xianyuan sword. He stood alone on the hilt of the huge sword-shaped stone sculpture in front of the mountain gate. He looked proudly into the distance, quietly waiting for the arrival of the Hunters' Alliance. Not long after, densely packed figures appeared in the canyon like locusts. They flew along the rocks and streams. There were so many of them that it was impossible to count them. The Hunters' Alliance was an invincible existence in the Eternal Sword domain. Everywhere they went, they were like locusts. Apart from Meng Tiefeng's City of Dawn, there was almost no city that had not been looted by the Hunters' Alliance. Swoosh, 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 more and more figures landed in the rocks and forests in front of the mountain gate. They covered the entire mountain. Most of these people were at the god realm. Of course, they were all old gods. None of them had insight into the laws of the Mahayana heavenly way. Not long after, everyone knelt down and shouted, "Welcome, Alliance Leader." Luo Xingji had arrived. To Lin Muyu's surprise, Luo Xingji was an even more refined and handsome man. He was dressed in white and held a paper fan in his hand. His handsome face was filled with murderous intent. He stepped on the air and came over. His body was surrounded by flames and his face was full of a twisted smile. He said, "Are you Lin Muyu?" "That's me." Lin Muyu stepped on the air, her cloth shoes creating a ripple of sword chi. She walked towards Luo Xingji with a calm smile on her face. "Luo Xingji, didn't you want to kill me? Why aren't you doing it?" Luo Xingji remained silent, but his face was already drenched in sweat. The person in front of him was far more powerful than his subordinates had described. She was dozens of times stronger. Chapter 1234. Luo Xingji swept his gaze across the bright sword forest's mountain gate and could not help but smile. What? Does such a huge bright sword forest only rear a bunch of cowards? Do they want you to block my tens of thousands of hunters by yourself? That's right. Lin Muyu said casually and smiled. "I alone am enough." "How dare you?" A burly man standing not far behind Luo Xingji flew up with a steel saber in hand. His face was filled with anger as he said, "Alliance Leader, let me deal with this Lin Muyu first." Luo Yang said, "The Fire Thunder Guardian deity must be careful." "Yes, Alliance Leader." Needless to say, this burly man was also a guardian deity of the Hunters' Union, one of Luo Xingji's 7 guardian deities. The flames and lightning on the saber resonated with each other, and a snake-like glow flew around it. The surrounding aura instantly became violent, causing the fallen leaves in front of the mountain gate to roll. He brazenly slashed his saber at Lin Muyu. If the saber landed on the ground, the large boulder in front of the mountain gate would probably be split in two. As expected, none of the 7 guardian deities were vegetarians. However, Lin Muyu's calmness was beyond imagination. When the Fire Thunder Guardian deity's saber was less than 5 meters away from her head, she leisurely raised her finger. Her index and middle fingers formed a sword, and suddenly, a rainbow soared into the sky and pierced through the Fire Thunder Guardian deity's heart. Fresh blood spurted into the air. The protective chi of the flaming thunder Vajra was penetrated by the sword chi like cotton. His body flew backward and fell on the grass. Fresh blood spurted out for 10 meters. It was very frightening. "Oh my God!" The eyes of the group of hunters were filled with horror. The legendary 7 guardian deities couldn't even withstand a single round. Who was this young expert in front of them? Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "Luo Xingji, why send your subordinates to their deaths? Why don't you do it yourself?" "Oomph." Luo Xingji gently waved the paper fan in his hand and smirked. "Is killing a mere Fire Thunder Guardian deity worth it for you to be so arrogant? Don't forget that I have thousands of hunters. Can you kill them all?" "It can give it a try." Lin Muyu smiled brilliantly. "Go." Luo Xingji raised his paper fan, his handsome face twisted with anger. "Attack him together. I don't believe he can withstand the attack of millions of hunters alone." Everyone drew their weapons and flew in all directions, like a swarm of locusts pouncing on a rice field. Unfortunately, Lin Muyu was not a rice field. The moment the dense crowd crushed towards Lin Muyu, the people on the periphery could no longer see his figure. They could only see lightning, wind blades, frost, stone awls, and other attacks exploding in the air. "He'll be fine, right?" Ru Yan's pretty face was filled with worry. Ria, on the other hand, raised her eyebrows and said proudly, "How could these rotten tomatoes and potatoes be a match for my master? Don't worry, my master is much more powerful than all of them." "Is that so?" Ru Yan smiled faintly. Ria's trust and admiration for her master, Lin Muyu, was almost unconditional. In her heart, Lin Muyu was an invincible existence, and the scene in front of her seemed to confirm all of this. Boom! The space suddenly distorted and exploded. With Lin Muyu as the center, a huge sword domain sphere surged out. It was originally only about 3 meters in radius, but it continued to surge and expand. The periphery of the sphere was full of the raging Xinyuan sword qi. Anyone who touched it would die immediately. Blood constantly splashed in the air. In an instant, the sphere had reached a radius of nearly 20 meters, and countless people had been killed. What the hell is this? Break it for me! A Vajra-level hunter roared. Everyone raised their weapons and unleashed their divine power to bombard the sphere. Clanging sounds rang out incessantly, but no one was able to penetrate the sphere. On the contrary, the rampaging sword qi around the sphere killed another group of people. In the blink of an eye, the ground was already covered with the corpses of the hunters. They were born to hunt and eat others, but at this moment, they had become the prey of others in a sorry state. In the forest and at the foot of the mountain, there were countless hunters pouncing on Lin Muyu. There were tens of thousands of them, and they were like a rushing river. Don't stop attacking! Luo Xingji roared. This was the only way he could think of. Things had developed far beyond his imagination, and Lin Muyu's strength was even more unimaginable. However, if he did not kill Lin Muyu today, Luo Xingji would probably not have a foothold in the Eternal Sword domain. However, Luo Xingji could not understand where Lin Muyu's strange power came from. Luo Xingji. Lin Muyu's low voice came from the sword domain sphere. How many people do you want to die before you're satisfied? Boom! The front of the sphere split open, and a mighty sword aura slashed out with enough force to split the heavens and the earth, directly blasting into the densely packed crowd. In an instant, over 1,000 hunters were reduced to ashes, and the sword aura continued to fall towards Luo Xingji's head. Luo Xingji did not expect Lin Muyu to be able to attack him when she was surrounded by tens of thousands of people. He waved the paper fan in his hand, which was made of a special material, and a strong wind rapidly condensed in the air. It was Luo Xingji's ultimate skill, Wall of Wind. Bang! The sword qi slammed into the wall of wind, and it was like hitting the surface of an umbrella. Ripples spread out, and then the wall of wind shattered with a loud bang. Luo Xingji's face immediately turned pale. His unique ultimate skill could not even block a sword qi from Lin Muyu from 300 meters away? Luo Xingji was even more shocked when he raised his head to look. Lin Muyu was flying toward him at high speed, surrounded by sword qi. She easily weaved her way through the thousands of soldiers and horses. She raised her hand and drew the Xinyuan sword, and slashed it down heavily on Luo Xingji. The momentum of the sword was like a rainbow, as if the mountains and rivers were pressing down. It seemed simple, but it made Luo Xingji feel a chill run down his spine. It was a terrifying sword that Luo Xingji had never seen before, and it was absolutely difficult to resist. Luo Xingji's domain was like a mirror-like lake. When faced with an enemy's attack, it was like facing a stone falling into the water. However, Lin Muyu's sword contained the mysteries of heaven and earth, making Luo Xingji feel like he was not facing a sword, but a rain falling from the sky. Even the most perfect defense could not withstand such a cold and dense attack. Ugh! Luo Xingji quickly retreated, and at the same time he held the paper fan with both hands. He let out a roar, and a whirlwind of black flames surged around him. Black flaming wind was the ultimate skill that Luo Xingji had cultivated for many years. However, Lin Muyu's sword still arrived as expected, and it landed directly on the back of the paper fan. With a purng, the fan's ribs broke into pieces, and Luo Xingji's black flaming wind was cut apart like tofu. Under Lin Muyu's attack, Luo Xingji did not have any strength left, and he was sent flying while vomiting a mouthful of blood. Luo Xingji fell onto a green rock at the edge of the cliff, and he vomited blood in a sorry state. He raised his head to look at Lin Muyu with a pale face, only to find that Lin Muyu's sword was lowered, and that Lin Muyu was looking at him indifferently. Lin Muyu's gaze made Luo Xingji's hair stand on end, and he could not help but ask, "What are you trying to do?" "Nothing." The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth curled up, and she smiled. "Luo Xingji, based on your cultivation, you are no match for Meng Taifeng. You will definitely die under Meng Tiefeng's Eternal Sword domain in 5 moves. So, can you explain to me why you are equally famous as Meng Taifeng?" "That's just the flattery of others. What does it have to do with me?" "Is that so?" Lin Muyu walked forward step by step and said, "I've changed my mind. There's no point in killing you, but I want you to do something for me. Otherwise, I'll still kill you." "What is it?" Luo Xingji saw a glimmer of hope, and at the same time he looked at the broken ribs of the fan in his hand and was extremely shocked. The ribs of the dragon bone fan were even harder than divine weapons, and yet they could not even withstand a single blow. Lin Muyu looked at him indifferently and said, "I want you to immediately give the order to disband the Hunters' League and let them live on their own." "What?" Luo Xingji was greatly shocked, and his handsome face was full of unwillingness. After all, the Hunters' League was a great cause that he had managed for many years, and now that it was disbanded just like that, one could imagine the deep sense of loss in his heart. "Die, or disband the Hunters' League. It's your choice," Lin Muyu said indifferently. In the sky, the densely packed Hunters' League had surrounded them, and all of them were ready to fight. They were shouting words like, "Save the League leader," but they still maintained a distance of 100 meters. Just now, they had been scared out of their wits by Lin Muyu's strength, so they did not dare to actually attack. Taking the initiative to attack now would only be courting death. Luo Xingji's entire body was trembling. He still had at least 80% of his divine power left in his body, but he was no longer able to resist the pressure of Lin Muyu's powerful domain. That mountainous proud sword technique sword domain was like an otherworldly power, and it was impossible to resist. "I agree," he said after coughing up a mouthful of blood. "Then make the announcement," Lin Muyu said indifferently. Luo Xingji straightened his body and said loudly to the people in the sky, "Luo Xingji, announced that from today onwards, the Hunters' League is officially disbanded. All of you can run away and leave. From today onwards, the Hunters' League will no longer exist, and you will no longer be bound by anything." The Hunters' League looked at each other in silence. Lin Muyu laughed loudly. "What are you waiting for? Get lost. Are you waiting for me to change my mind and kill all of you hunters?" The crowd scattered like a forest of birds flying away in an instant. It was a depressing scene. Sigh. Luo Xingji sighed and slowly knelt on the green rock. He said, "Lin Muyu, are you satisfied now? You've destroyed everything I had, everything I cherished as much as my life." "No, I haven't destroyed everything you had yet." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "But it will be soon. Are you ready?" "Ready for what?" "To cripple your martial arts and dispel your cultivation so that you can no longer do evil." "What?" Luo Xingji stood up abruptly. "Lin Muyu, you've gone too far." "Buzz." Lin Muyu stood majestically without a change in her expression, but wisps of golden brilliance condensed into sword chi that flew out and severed Luo Xingji's vital meridians. Even his spirit bones and major meridians were destroyed at the same time. Chapter 12:35. Come out. She opened her palm, and a bright forged immortal lattice was forcibly sucked out from Luo Xingji's will see. Luo Xingji howled in pain, and his body twitched. However, Lin Muyu did not show any mercy. She directly absorbed the forged immortal lattice into her palm, and then dispersed the sacred martial energy on her body. Luo Xingji knelt on the ground. His body was covered in blood and the robe he was wearing was already dyed red. His meridians were all injured and his cultivation had completely dissipated. However, Lin Muyu had shown mercy and did not destroy all his meridians. He still had the ability to be an ordinary person, at least doing some manual labor. However, this was probably more painful than killing him. "But why didn't you just kill me?" Luo Xingji shouted. Lin Muyu turned around and walked towards the mountain gate. "You were bullying the weak when you killed the innocent. Now, I'll give you a chance to be the weak and let you feel the feeling of being bullied." "I don't need it. Kill me." Luo Xingji's face turned pale. Lin Muyu smiled and looked at Elder Tian Nan in the outer hall. "Senior, Luo Xingji's karma is too deep. Why don't you take him as your disciple? I believe the Bright Sword Forest is enough to cleanse Luo Xingji's killing karma." Elder Tian Nan nodded happily. "Shirhan, Ru Yen, send Luo Xingji to the guest room." "Yes, master." When Shirhan and Ru Yen carried Luo Xingji's body, Luo Xingji looked angry. I don't need it. The bright sword forest can cleanse my killing karma, but what about you? Lin Muyu, who will cleanse your killing karma? Lin Muyu turned around and said, Me? I'll chant the Mahayana Heart Sutra every night. Can you compare? Luo Xingji was speechless and was carried by Shirhan and Ru Yen towards the prayer altar. Master. Leah flew down from the roof and held onto Lin Muyu's arm. Master, are you all right? So many people attacked you just now. Are you hurt? How could I be? Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, They can't hurt me. Leah, you don't have to worry. Let's go to the back of the mountain to continue cultivating. Time. What Lin Muyu needed the most was still time. He couldn't return to the divine realm with the half-practiced AO sword tactics. That was not enough to fight against the power of the devil realm. He must practice the complete AO sword tactics to be invincible under the deterrence of Ziyen and the god-destroying tower. At this time, in the depths of the demon realm, in the deep dark universe, the stars were shining brightly. In the depths of the nebula, a huge whirlpool bathed in the galaxy, like a huge eye, but the eye was blood red. Two figures flew past and went straight into the blood-red whirlpool. They were Ziyen and Bai Feng Holy King, who were holding onto the god-destroying pagoda. This is the demon eye? Ziyen stopped and asked as he looked at the shining demon eye in the distance. Yes, Lord Ancestor Emperor. Bai Feng looked a little perturbed and said, Ancestor Emperor, are you really going to remove the seal for that old monster? Of course. Ziyen had a confident expression on his face and said with a smile, In the ancient demon-sealing war, only he escaped, which created the prosperity of the demon realm today. As long as he is willing to help me, why worry about not being able to eliminate those Mahayana God of Heaven's way? But Bai Feng was a little hesitant and said, The old monster has been sealed for so many years, and his cultivation is already unfathomable. Once he is released, Ancestor Emperor, do you have the confidence to restrain him? Don't worry, I have the god-destroying tower. Moreover, Bai Feng, you don't even know the secret of the god-destroying tower. Oh? What secret? Ziyen smiled and said in a low voice, The reason why the god-destroying tower was forged was not to eliminate gods, but to eliminate demons. The power of the god-destroying tower against demons is many times more terrifying than the power of gods. I have already swallowed the power of the two holy emperor. Do you think that with the addition of the god-destroying tower, we won't be able to defeat a mere old monster? I see. Since Ancestor Emperor is so confident, then let's go in. Ziyen raised his palm and instantly, a crack appeared on the demon eye. The two of them jumped in and felt that their bodies had instantly entered an extremely cold place. It was pitch black inside the demon eye, and there were giant vines that were covered in frost crisscrossing around it. It was as if they had formed a giant net that reached the sky. He's there. Bai Feng called out softly. Ziyen flew over and raised the god-destroying tower. Under the illumination of the light, they could see the crisscrossing vines intertwining like a spider's web. In the center, there was a white-haired old man sealed. His body was already covered with plants, and his meridians were pierced by the vines. His entire body was almost rotting, and even his beard had started to corrode. Frost covered about 10 centimeters of it, and it was crystal clear. Is he still alive? Bai Feng was stunned. He's alive. Ziyan's cultivation was much higher than Bai Feng's. He stretched out his hand and touched the frost. In the blink of an eye, the layer of frost quickly melted, revealing the old man's true appearance. He was incomparably old, and the flesh on his face was sunken in. Upon closer inspection, one could see that the old man's major meridians and vital points had all been nailed by golden nails. Those were the god-locking nails, divine objects from the ancient era. Pulling out the god-locking nails was equivalent to removing the seal. This was something that no demon had ever dared to do in millions of years. Are we really going to do that? Bai Feng and the Holy King were a little nervous. Of course. Ziyen said indifferently, This old man has been lonely here for hundreds of thousands of years. We can't be so indifferent anymore. There are good demons too. We have to respect the old and love the young. Isn't that right, Bai Feng? Bai Feng frowned and was speechless. Ziyan smiled faintly and reached out to pull out the soul-locking nail from the elder's first target. However, the old man did not move at all. It was as if he was dead. His body was withered. Bai Feng stood at the side anxiously. Ziyan continued to pull out the god-locking nails. He pulled out 7 or 8 of them in a row. At this moment, the old man suddenly sat up and took a deep breath. His withered body seemed to be inflated. He opened his rotten eyes. There was only white in his eyes. It was very scary. After a while, his pupils appeared. He stared at Ziyan and Bai Feng and said, "What time is it now?" "It's been 210,000 years since Senior was sealed." Ziyan said, "Why did you save me?" The old man said indifferently. Ziyan took a deep breath and took a few steps back. He knelt and said, "I am the current lord of the demon world, Ziyan. But you are my senior." Ziyan begs Senior to come out and destroy the Mahayana Heavenly Tao for the demon world. Mahayana Heavenly Tao? Yes, the Heavenly Tao created by ancestor god Pangu's 3 disciples. It's that old man again. The old man grinned in a horrifying manner. He stared straight at Bai Feng and said, "I agree to your request. However, I also have a condition. Give this girl to me. I want to exercise a bit." "What?" Bai Feng Holy King was shocked. He looked at Ziyan for help. Ziyan smiled faintly. He bowed and said, "Senior, Bai Feng is my right-hand man. You can choose any woman in the demon world. If you like, you can go to the divine world and catch a Mahayana Heavenly Tao goddess to enjoy." The old man stood up and said, "I can't even satisfy such a small request. What cooperation is there to talk about?" As he spoke, a formless aura spread out. Instantly, all the vines in the demon eye were shattered. Even Ziyan and Bai Feng had to use their demon flame to protect themselves. "Senior, what do you think this is?" Ziyan raised his hand and the god-destroying pagoda shone brightly. With a buzz, a blood-colored light descended from the sky and enveloped the old man's head. The entire demon world started to tremble and the destructive power was ready to be unleashed. Ziyan looked at him and said, "Senior, do you recognize this item?" "A godly weapon of the future." The old man said, "You actually have such a treasure." Ziyan smiled and said, "Therefore, the relationship between me and Senior is not a cooperation, it is an order. I am the master of the devil world, and as the master of the devil world, I command you. 9 Netherworld Demon Monarch, serve me, otherwise, I will not seal you, I will only make you disappear into thin air." The demon king of the 9 underworlds trembled. He squinted at Ziyan. After a while, he knelt down and said, 9 underworlds await your orders. Let's go back to the Fekta temple. Once the demon chi in the god-destroying tower is full, we will attack the divine world again. This time, we must destroy the entire Mahayana Heavenly Tao. Yes. At the side, Holy King Bai Feng looked at Ziyan with gratitude. If not for Ziyan, she, the Holy King, would have become the old monster's bedding. Lanyan City, dusk. It was quiet in the spiritual medicine division. The medicine refiners talked and laughed as they went to the canteen. During this period of time, there were almost no more battles in the empire. Therefore, the spiritual medicine division used less medicine. Everyone could have a good rest. Great Deacon. A young lady who was as agile as a swallow flew over. It was Lan Yen. She said with a smile, "Good news. There's news from the celestial pole continent. It said that Prince Exen has already ascended to become a god." Chu Yao put down the medical book in her hands, raised her head, and said with a smile, "I already know." Lan Yan's eyes widened. "How is that possible? This news has just reached the Zhe Tian Palace. I just came back from the Zhe Tian Palace. How could the Great Deacon know about it earlier than me? Actually, I already knew about it last night. Big Brother Feng has been conferred the title of Wind God. It's really amazing. How did the Great Deacon do it? Over here, the Heavenly Melody Scroll has never appeared in the sky. I don't know either. It's just that I had a dream in the middle of the night. I dreamt of all this and it felt extremely real. Could it be that the great deacon already knows how to foresee the future? How would I know? Chu Yao giggled. Little lass, let's not talk so much. Let's go and have our dinner. I heard that the Zetian Palace has increased the food expenses of our spiritual medicine division quite a bit. There'll definitely be good food for dinner. If we're late, there won't be any. I'm not afraid. Would I still have to worry about not being able to have the best dinner in the spiritual medicine division if I were to follow the great deacon? Chapter 12:36. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. The seemingly calm heaven realm was surging with undercurrents. Within 7 days, the eastern heaven realm had added another 6 upright gods, each from a different plane. Unfortunately, these 6 upright gods were all untitled and had no special abilities. Their combat power was also far less than those titled upright gods, and the influence they could have was even less. On the other hand, the Western Divine Realm won with numbers. Shi Yen had used the light raw stone to create more than 50 battle angel old gods. Looking at the 4 great heaven realms, the Western Divine Realm had become the most powerful one. At night, the river of stars gurgled, and the light of the stars rippled. It was so beautiful that it was intoxicating. Shi Yen sat at the highest peak of the Spirit Mountain, watching the streams of Star River flowing around her. Her beautiful eyes were filled with regret. She said faintly, "The power of the demon realm is constantly stirring. It won't be long before their next attack. I don't know if we can resist the next time." "We can definitely." Lao Hua sat at the side, putting down the recast longsword. "Is Xin back?" "Not yet. After all, Xin and Shao Shi are the righteous gods of the Eastern Heaven Realm. We can't keep them in the Western Divine Realm. The gods in the Eastern Heaven Realm are desolate. They need their power even more." Shi Yen looked up at the starry sky and said, "Eva, I feel a strong force surging in the demon realm. Their next attack will be no small matter. We have to be on guard." "Sister, the Western Divine Realm will definitely go all out." Shi Yen nodded and didn't say much. She just let the power of the moon flow through her fingertips. She was the moon goddess. After her promotion, her strength had increased several times. The source of her power was the power of the moon. As long as she used the power of the moon well, she might have a chance to turn the tide. At this moment, it was also nighttime in the Eternal Sword Domain. Cold winds rustled, and the forest behind the bright sword forest was desolate and cold. The roars of the crypt fiends as they hunted for food could be heard from afar. However, to the 2 experts, these roars were like the cries of birds, and did not pose any threat at all. Swoosh, 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 rays of curved sword chi circled around Meng Tiefeng's arm. His face was hidden under the mask as he sneered, "Young hero Lin, I heard that you've defeated Luo Xingji and dismissed the Hunters League. You even forced Luo Xingji to stay in the Bright Sword Forest and learn from him. Is that true?" "It's true." Lin Muyu smiled. "Why, does the Chancellor have any objections?" "Haha, I don't have any objections. It's just that the Eternal Sword Domain has maintained this balance for tens of thousands of years. Now that such a huge change has occurred because of your greed, those hunters who have escaped will definitely wreak havoc everywhere. The entire Eternal Sword Domain will become even more chaotic." "Oh!" Meng Taifeng stood in the wind and said in astonishment, "Hero Lin, you don't intend to dominate the Eternal Sword Domain? As long as I can defeat you, I will dominate. Come on, lad." Meng Taifeng waved his sleeves and attacked with a strong gust of wind. The overwhelming sword chi surged towards him like rain. Indeed, in a short 7 days, the power of Meng Tiefeng's sword domain had increased to another level. This person was truly talented. Lin Muyu also flew forward. She raised a finger and thousands of swords shot out. The sword domain of the proud sword technique became stronger and stronger. In addition to the power of holy martial arts, her strength was already above Meng Tiefeng's. Clang, clang, clang. In the air, dense sparks flew. Rays of sword chi made clear sounds as if they were real weapons colliding. Moreover, It was thousands of long swords colliding at the same time. The aura was like a raging torrent. However, Meng Tiefeng's years of cultivation were obviously more experienced. He was actually able to control wisps of sword qi to launch additional attacks. Clang! Lin Muyu's Xianyuan sword was unsheathed. It shone brightly and slashed in the air. Rays of golden sword qi shattered Meng Tiefeng's sword domain. On the ground, rubble flew everywhere. The light was terrifying. It was as if doomsday had arrived. Elder Tiannan, Ria, Zhang Wei, and the others narrowed their eyes as they watched the battle. Their faces were filled with solemnity. These two people are the two strongest people in the eternal sword domain, right? Ru Yen asked cautiously, afraid that she would hurt her master's pride. Elder Tiannan laughed. That's right. In terms of strength, there is no third person who can compete with them. One is the talented lord of the City of Dawn, the other is the martial god chosen by the heavens. These two people would be a disaster in any world. Now that they have appeared together in the eternal sword domain, it is a great misfortune for the eternal sword domain. Ria pouted. Senior, Master is a good person. Meng Taifeng is also a good person. Why is it a great misfortune? A battle between two extremely strong people is naturally a great misfortune for the world. Old man Tiannan stroked his beard and said, Tonight, a winner will be decided. Who will win? Zhang Wei asked. I don't know. Elder Tiannan shook his head and smiled. Perhaps it depends on who is smarter. Bang bang bang. 2.5 kilometers away, the whirlwind created by their battle exploded in the air. The shockwaves swept across the plains. Even the crypt demons were frightened and fled. In the air, Lin Muyu and Meng Tiefeng's auras were still steady. The battle between the sword domain had turned into a clash of swords. After dozens of exchanges, the Xianyuan sword and the black sword had suppressed each other. Sizzle, sizzle, the surface of the black sword glowed. Meng Taifeng knew that he could not hold on for much longer. The reaction of the black sword was just a warning. On the other hand, Lin Muyu seemed to be at ease. This made Meng Taifeng feel humiliated. As the Lord of the City of Dawn, the king of the eternal sword domain, was he going to lose to this young junior? It was another heavy and powerful strike. Strands of sword wool surrounded the blade. In a battle between two peak experts, every strike was not simple. It was a strike that could split the mountains and split the earth. Lin Muyu could see that Meng Tiefeng's aura had begun to become chaotic. This strike had almost used up all of his strength. Therefore, she did not say much. She gripped the Xianyuan sword tightly with both hands, activated the proud sword technique, and swept out. Bang! The two swords collided. Light shot up into the sky. A piercingly cold airflow swept out, causing the hair and cloaks of the two to dance wildly. At the moment when the swords collided, Lin Muyu felt that Meng Tiefeng's strike was not simple. There was an endless stream of sword wool surging in the blade. This strike that seemed to have stopped was actually still in progress. Waves of sword wool turned into domain power and blasted into the Xianyuan sword. Lin Muyu looked up at Meng Taifeng, only to find that Meng Tiefeng's eyes were a little proud. He lowered his arms slightly, and the proud sword technique surged out. Strands of sword wool raged out and wrapped around the two like waves. Lin Muyu's strength was at least 20% stronger. For a moment, Meng Taifeng felt a sense of suffocation. When his aura was almost unable to continue, Lin Muyu pulled out her left palm and gently aimed at Meng Tiefeng's face. Samsara. The surrounding aura was almost sucked dry in an instant. Meng Taifeng suddenly froze at this moment. Images of the past kept flying in his mind. Those days of war, the days when he lost his family, the screams of his wife, the wails of his children, and the tragic scene when his entire clan was exterminated emerged one by one. Then there was the scene of falling leaves and flying flowers. Everything returned to the original, dust to dust and dust to dust. And he was just a wisp of dust and an aura in the vast thousand worlds. The enlightenment brought about by samsara made Meng Taifeng unable to move. At this moment, he realized how terrifying Lin Muyu's cultivation and state of mind were. This young man was not as simple as he had imagined. But at this moment, Lin Muyu was holding the sword with one hand. Obviously, she could not compete with the black sword in terms of strength. Clang. With a crisp sound, the Xianyuan sword flew out of his hand, flipped through the air, and fell into the dark forest, piercing straight into the rocks. At the same time, Lin Muyu's body was hit by the power of the eternal sword domain. She retreated again and again, looking a little embarrassed. She turned around and stood still in the strong wind. With a slightly shocked expression, she cupped her hands and said, "City Lord, I've lost." Meng Taifeng did not feel the slightest joy of victory. Instead, he was extremely shocked. He said, "This battle is not about who won or lost, but I wonder if Lord Martial God would mind making friends with me, Meng Taifeng, from the Eternal Sword Domain? A sinner whose entire clan was exterminated, who was exiled, and whose hands are stained with blood." Lin Muyu smiled. "City Lord, I don't mind if you don't mind me looking down on you." Good, good, good. Ha. Meng Taifeng looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. It's enough to have a confidant in life. I never thought that I, Meng Taifeng, would have a close friend here. Martial God, I admire your magnanimity and magnanimity. Why don't you bring your friend to Dawn City as a guest? I will treat you with great hospitality. What do you think? Ah. Lin Muyu was a little hesitant. Behind her, Elder Tian Nen smiled. Lord Martial God, since City Lord Meng has invited you with great hospitality, let's go. Leah asked loudly, "City Lord, do you have good food in Dawn City?" "Yes, we have everything." Meng Taifeng laughed. Leah said, "Master, take me with you." Lin Muyu did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Then I'll have to trouble you, City Lord. When is the best time to go?" "There's no time like the present. Come to Dawn City now and stay for a few days. I can also let Martial God study the ancient martial arts in Sky Feather Grotto." "Oh, Sky Feather Grotto? Ancient martial arts?" "That's right. How else do you think I mastered the Eternal Sword Realm?" At this moment, Lin Muyu was tempted. A person who mastered martial arts would definitely be proficient in all kinds of martial arts. At the very least, he would have to understand them. It was necessary to go to Dawn City to take a look. "All right, let's go now." "Haha, that's great. Let's go." Lin Muyu pulled out the Xianyuan sword from the air and left with Ria, Chang Wei, Shirhan, Ru Yen, and the others who wanted to go with her. Chapter 1237. As dawn approached, rays of light shone from the eastern horizon, piercing through the clouds and onto the land. Just like the rays of light, the city stood tall in the middle of the mountain range. It was bright and golden, and the flag of the City of Dawn fluttered in the air. It was incomparably prosperous, far surpassing the scale and prosperity of the other cities in the Eternal Sword Domain. In this barren plain, the City of Dawn was simply a spectacle. With one hand behind his back, Meng Taifeng flew in the air against the wind. Suddenly he raised his left hand and took off his mask, revealing the determined face of a middle-aged man. Just as Lin Muyu had predicted, Meng Taifeng's appearance was a reflection of the heart. Meng Taifeng was a straightforward person with a heroic spirit. "Here, this is my City of Dawn." Meng Taifeng smiled proudly. "A city that took tens of thousands of years to build. It can accommodate millions of people. I have established laws and an army to govern the entire City of Dawn." Lin Muyu smiled slightly. "City Lord, you are doing this to benefit the people. If I were the City Lord, I would expand my territory and build more City of Dawn. I would rule over the entire City of Dawn." "That would be difficult." Meng Taifeng shook his head. "Those who are exiled to the Eternal Sword Domain are not easy to deal with. Which one of them is not an expert with hands stained with blood? These people do not submit to the rule, and they do things their own way. I have tried a few times, but I have always failed." "That's true." Lin Muyu did not say anything else. She followed Meng Taifeng to the City Lord's mansion. As expected, it was a splendid palace. As the symbol of the highest power in the Eternal Sword Domain, Meng Taifeng's residence was naturally very luxurious. After stepping onto the steps of the palace, the guards on both sides knelt down and said in unison, Greetings, City Lord. Lin Muyu was speechless. This was what it felt like to be an emperor. The guard rubbed his nose resentfully. City Lord, don't tell me you have a harem of 3,000 beauties here? Harem of beauties? Meng Taifeng seemed to feel insulted. He raised his eyebrows. How dare you speak of me like that? Or you? Under Meng Tiefeng's awe-inspiring aura, the guard trembled and could not say a word. On the contrary, Ria was pure and naive and was not afraid of Meng Taifeng at all. She smiled and said, "He is a man with a very tough life." Meng Taifeng glanced at Lin Muyu and said, "Martial God, what kind of people are following you?" Lin Muyu was a little embarrassed. "I met her on the way." "Mayor, do you have a harem of beauties?" "No." Meng Taifeng also rubbed his nose and said, "I've already abstained from women for tens of thousands of years." Shirhan and Ru Yen were silent and did not say anything. Just like that, the group of people entered the main hall and received Meng Tiefeng's hospitality. It was just as Meng Taifeng had said, the City of Dawn was very rich. There was food and drinks everywhere, and there was enough for them to eat. Leah stuffed herself with food until her stomach was full. If it wasn't for Lin Muyu's advice, she might have eaten a donkey. In the afternoon, Ria and the others stayed in the guest rooms to rest. Lin Muyu and Meng Taifeng entered the Sky Feather Grotto. The grotto was under the mayor's residence. Meng Taifeng personally held a torch and passed through layers of mechanisms before arriving in front of a stone wall. Lin Muyu stood still and extended her spirit sense. She took a deep breath and said, "There is a very vast and profound aura behind this stone wall. The Sky Feather Grotto must be behind this." Meng Taifeng smiled slightly and said, "Martial God, please follow me." After pushing open a secret door, a rotten smell suddenly entered her nose. Lin Muyu could not help but frown and hold her breath. "My apologies." Meng Taifeng smiled. "The last time I entered the Sky Feather Grotto was more than 20 years ago. This is a secret room. Aside from me, no one else has the right to enter. City Lord is too polite." Lin Muyu gently raised her hand. Suddenly, a sky dragon crystal condensed in her palm. Light radiated in all directions, illuminating everything in the Sky Feather Grotto. Although this place was rotten, the surrounding walls were engraved with lines of text. Most of them were ancient characters that Lin Muyu could recognize. After all, she had studied Fushi's heavenly book, so it was not a big deal for her to recognize these characters. Meng Taifeng put his hands behind his back and walked side by side with Lin Muyu. He sighed and said, "Many years ago, there were 9 other peerless experts who were as famous as me. We discovered the Sky Feather Grotto together, but we all wanted it for ourselves. In the end, we decided to have a martial arts competition. The final winner would control the Sky Feather Grotto. It was also that battle that I obtained the Sky Feather Grotto. 4 experts died under my sword. Martial God, do you feel ashamed?" Lin Muyu smiled. Meng Tiefeng's hair stood on end. "What do you mean by smiling?" Lin Muyu said, "There are not many good people who are exiled to the Eternal Sword Domain to begin with. Isn't it normal for them to kill each other? City Lord, do you think you are a good person?" "Not really, but I'm not a bad person either." Where is the martial arts manual that records the Eternal Sword Domain?" "Young hero, please follow me." Meng Taifeng walked in front and entered the depths of the grotto. An extremely smooth and neat stone wall appeared in front of them. It was densely packed with small characters. Meng Taifeng said, "Here, this is the Eternal Sword Domain. It is an absolute art that I have painstakingly practiced for many years." "Oh," Lin Muyu raised her head to look at the characters. After silently scanning through them, she turned and left. "What's wrong, Martial God? Are you done reading it?" Meng Taifeng was stunned. Could it be that Martial God doesn't practice the Eternal Sword Domain? "I don't." Lin Muyu smiled. "I have already comprehended the AO sword technique. It would be a waste of time to learn the Eternal Sword Domain. I just need to learn one of the same power. What do you think, City Lord?" Meng Taifeng smiled awkwardly. "That's true. The Martial God's state of mind is much better than mine. After entering the Heaven Feather Grotto, I almost fell into madness and forgot the principle of biting off more than I can chew. Lin Muyu continued to walk through the Heaven Feather Grotto with the celestial dragon crystal. Soon, she stood in front of a stone wall and said, "Dao Heart Technique?" "Yes, Dao Heart Technique." Meng Taifeng shook his head. "This technique is not very useful. Although I have seen it, I have not practiced it." Lin Muyu could not help but smile. She raised her head and recited the Dao Heart Technique 3 times in a row. She said, "I have memorized it." Meng Taifeng was stunned. "You have memorized it so quickly? Is the martial god going to practice the Dao Heart Technique? I can practice it when I have nothing to do." Lin Muyu raised the celestial dragon crystal and continued to walk through the grotto. Soon, she stood in front of a stone wall. There was a paragraph of text on this stone wall. On it were the words, "Light Hunting Technique." Meng Taifeng also stood at the side and said, "Absolute power will always be above speed. This light hunting technique is a record of speed. The Lord Martial God does not need to practice it. It is a real waste of time." Lin Muyu said, "Yes, I will write it down for Leah to practice. Absolute speed can even kill light. This is the martial art that she needs the most." Lord Martial God really dotes on this disciple. Of course. I only have this one disciple. How can I not dote on her? Haha, don't tell me you have taken a fancy to your disciple? How could that be? What are you thinking? I only need Leah's power. I need her to help me return to the immortal realm and fight against strong enemies. Leah is talented and has a strong learning ability. If she can master absolute speed, coupled with the stellar technique that I have imparted to her, Leah will almost be able to hold her own. As she spoke, Lin Muyu looked at Meng Taifeng and said, "City Lord, do you want to leave the Eternal Sword domain and see the outside world?" "Can I? This place is a huge cage. Master will show me the way out." "Who is Lord Martial God's master? How can he have such magical powers?" "Fuxi." "So it is the 3 great ancestral gods." Meng Taifeng smiled and said, "Forget it. I will stay in the Eternal Sword domain. The outside world is no longer suitable for my old bones. Besides, the Eternal Sword domain needs my strength to maintain its stability." "That's right. Go out." "Finished reading?" "Yes." Lin Muyu had only taken a few steps when she suddenly stopped and said, "City Lord, if I may be so bold as to ask you a favor. If you are willing to help, I will be eternally grateful." "You first. Have you heard of the God Gems?" "Does what?" "I need the God Gems. The more the better. Does Dawn City have them?" "This." Meng Taifeng hesitated for a few seconds, then looked up and said, "The God Gems are precious treasures in the Eternal Sword domain. They can prolong one's life. But since the Martial God is my friend, I can't just sit back and do nothing. There are about 150 God Gems in the treasury of Dawn City that I have collected over the years. If you don't mind, I can give them all to you." "So many?" Lin Muyu was stunned. How can I accept that? You are my only friend." Meng Tiefeng's eyes dimmed. "Do you know how important the word friend is? You are the only friend I have in my life. For a friend, what else can I give?" Lin Muyu nodded. "Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. You are welcome. Let's go have a drink." But it was night time again. The moonlight shone on a courtyard in Dawn City. Lin Muyu sat on the stone bed and silently recited the Tao Heart Sutra to ease the manic feeling brought about by the AO sword skill. The effect was surprisingly good. She was ecstatic and could not help but feel a burst of manic feeling. In front of her, leaves were falling from a maple tree. Swoosh, a figure passed by. Ria held the maple leaves in her hand and placed them neatly in a bamboo basket beside her. Lin Muyu closed her eyes and said, "Too slow. It is easy to chase the wind, but difficult to chase the sound. You can only chase the wind, but you can't even catch the sound. Chase the sound first, then catch the shadow." "Yes, master." Ria pouted, feeling wronged, but she continued to train even harder. Chapter 12:38. In September, the weather was getting hotter and hotter, and the whole Lanyan city seemed to be in a fire cage. The alchemists in the spiritual medicine department had taken off their thick robes and put on cool gauze dresses. Even Chu Yao, the Grand Deacon, was no exception. Chu Yao, who was wearing a beige dress, looked extraordinarily beautiful and elegant. A group of male alchemists secretly admired her, but they could only admire her because Chu Yao's identity and status were beyond their reach. Early in the morning, in the flower garden, Chu Yao sat sullenly on a bench. Lan Yen came over with a teacup and said respectfully, "Grand Deacon, it's Feng Zhanlin and Nangong Lai's turn to be on duty today. You can take a little rest." Why do you look so sullen?" "Am I?" Chu Yao looked up with a smile, then lowered her head and said, "Lan Yen, I had a dream last night." "What did you dream about?" "I dreamed." Chu Yao was a little hesitant. After a long while, she moved her red lips and said, "I dreamed that you was pressed under a mountain with blood all over his body. I dreamed that Feng Jixing was seriously injured and unconscious. I dreamed that countless stars and towers rolled down from the sky. I dreamed that everything between heaven and earth had collapsed. Are these real? Dreams are just thoughts and worries. They may not come true. Don't worry too much, Grand Deacon. Is that so?" Chu Yao was still sullen. Then she reached out to hold the teacup, but at the moment she lifted the teacup, her fingers were plated with a faint layer of golden light, burning the teacup red. "Ah, what's wrong?" Lan Yen was shocked. Chu Yao frowned slightly. She knew what had happened. A strong force was pouring into her body, and her mind became clearer. Her whole person seemed to have undergone a qualitative leap. She could not help trembling and said, "Lan Yen, I may have to leave." "What's wrong, Grand Deacon? Don't scare me." "It's nothing. I just sensed the summons of the Mahayana heavenly Tao. I'm going to the heaven realm." In the air, layers of golden scrolls were unfurled. They were the heavenly melody scrolls, and the names on them were faintly discernible. Chu Yao's name was also among them, and it was very conspicuous. Not long after, Feng Zhanlin and Nangong Lai rushed in from the outer hall. The two of them were dumbfounded, and almost at the same time, they said, "Deacon Chu Yao, are you ascending?" Then Nangong Lai was at a loss. Chu Yao said, "Please lead the Dragon League and stay here, waiting for the opportunity to ascend to the Mahayana realm." "Yes." In the air, the Dharma body of Goddess Nviwa appeared and looked at Chu Yao with a kind gaze. She said, "Chu Yao, you are kind and love all living things. Now that you have been recognized by the heavenly melody scrolls, you will be granted the Dharma body of an intermediate deity and the title Goddess of Prophecy. You will also be granted the power of a true deity, foresight. May you inherit the Mahayana heavenly Tao and cultivate well." "Thank you, Supreme Deity." Chu Yao's body seemed to be pulled as she slowly flew into the sky. Although the gate of heaven could not be seen, her body quickly dissipated, turning into pink petals that scattered in the air. "Grand Deacon." Lan Yen looked at the sky blankly and murmured, "Are you gone?" There was no response from the sky. Chu Yao had already left for the heaven realm. Swoosh! A strong light shone on the hall of great accomplishment. Chu Yao's ascension had attracted everyone's attention. The surrounding deities knelt on one knee to show their respect. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi smiled and walked forward. "Sister Chu Yao." The petals swirled around her. Chu Yao slowly opened her eyes. Her body shone faintly and she smiled. "Xiao Yin, Xiao Shi, long time no see. Is this the Eastern Heaven realm?" Not far away, Xiao walked over and smiled. "Congratulations, Miss Chu Yao, for obtaining the title of Goddess of Prophecy. Welcome to the Eastern Celestial Realm." Chu Yao bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Fairy Xiao." Xiao smiled. "Chu Yao, you are the Goddess of Prophecy. You have obtained the power of a true deity from the Mahayana heavenly Tao. Can you really predict the future? Did you see anything?" "I saw some." Chu Yao bit her red lips and said, "I saw some bad things. These days I have been dreaming almost every day. I dreamed that you and Brother Feng were injured. I dreamed that the gods fell again. I dreamed that the heavenly might fell from the sky. But I don't know if these are the prophecies of the goddess of prophecy. If they are, then it's too bad. Ziyao's expression turned cold as she said, if that's really the case, then something might really happen. In fact, I've been feeling uneasy these past few days, feeling that something big is about to happen. The demon domain has been calm for many days now, and no one knows what's happening in the demon domain, nor do they know what they're planning. Yu hasn't returned yet, so everything is still uncertain. Where did you go? Eternal Sword Domain, a very far place. You went to seek the strongest power. Oh, that stinking brat as a martial god, he isn't in the god realm. If he doesn't even participate in the war of gods and demons, then he has neglected his duty as a martial god. Ziyao looked at the crowd with clear eyes and said, the invasion of the demon realm is imminent. I hope everyone can cultivate well. Don't let down our responsibilities as righteous gods. Don't let down the worship and prayers of the common people in the god realm. Yes, Fairy Ziyao. At night, the starry sky of the god realm was very dark. Chu Yao stood at the peak of a spirit mountain, towering like a statue. Streams of starry water flowed around her, carrying with them the spiritual energy that the people of the divine world needed. Spiritual energy was the most basic nourishment for gods. Without spiritual energy, it was like a fish leaving the water or a person leaving the air. The source of spiritual energy came from the spirit mountains in the sky, as well as the streams of starry water flowing in the wind. Suddenly, Chu Yao opened her eyes and clenched her fists. They're here. Yao, what's here? Feng Jixing asked. The people of the demon realm. Chu Yao bit her red lips and said, a lot of people are here. There's a person holding a pagoda and an old man. Both of them are very powerful. Feng Jixing, swoosh. A ray of spiritual light fell and condensed into the figure of Ziyao. She asked, Fairy Chu Yao, what do you see? The army of the demon realm has rushed out of the exit of the chaos realm and is coming in our direction. Chu Yao closed her eyes. Her vision penetrated the plain and looked at the army of the demon realm. She said, there are too many of them. They also brought a huge red cauldron. There's a burning red liquid inside. I don't know what it is. Ziyao's eyes were cold. She said to the righteous god with thick eyebrows, Dragon Sequence, immediately send a warning. The Eastern Divine Realm will immediately enter a state of war. The demon realm is attacking. Although he was an untitled lower god of the third tier, he was at least a Mahayana god of the heavenly Tao. His strength was much stronger than those useless gods. It was just that such an untitled righteous god didn't have any special divine power. Once he encountered an attack from the devil realm, he might not even be able to withstand the frenzied attacks of a group of devil luos. At this moment, Chu Yao was still looking at the army of Mara in the distance. Suddenly, Ziyen, who was riding on the back of the demonic tiger, looked up at the sky. He seemed to have sensed something. The corner of his mouth rose, revealing a sinister smile. Chu Yao took a few steps back. She opened her beautiful eyes, and her face was pale. What's wrong, Yao? Feng Jixing asked. He saw me. Chu Yao bit her red lips and said, the Lord of the Demon Realm. Feng Jixing gritted his teeth, raised the crimson phoenix saber, and said, Fairy Ziyao, I'm going to guard the Hall of Great Accomplishment. But no one could sleep in this late night. The invasion of the demon realm was imminent. Almost everyone began to prepare for a showdown. After a full 2 hours, dark clouds rolled over from the western horizon, and blood-red thunderbolts descended from the sky. The dark mass of the evil Luo army blotted out the sky and covered the earth as they rushed over. What should come had finally come. Don't let them land. Sun Feng shouted. Got it. Feng Jixing flew up proudly and stood in the sky above the Hall of Great Accomplishment. He raised his palms, and a whirlwind danced around him. Suddenly, tornadoes appeared in the distant sky, and they swept across with azure lightning. Feng Jixing's power of controlling the wind produced dimensional storms with shocking destructive power. For a moment, the screams of Mara's army were continuous. There were even 2 demon generals who couldn't dodge in time and were swallowed by the violent winds. What a powerful wind god! Sun Feng said with a stern gaze. Xiao bit her red lips and looked back at the path paved by the North Tianlun. She said, Demon Emperor, come back quickly. Hurry! In the sky, the demonic flames surged and pressed down. Roar! A huge demonic tiger stepped on the air. It was Ziyan's mount. At this moment, Ziyan was sitting on the back of the demonic tiger. He held the glowing god-destroying pagoda in his hand and smiled faintly. I heard that your heavenly melody scroll has conferred another wind god? It's you, right? Feng Jixing raised his eyebrows. He knew that his strength was far from Ziyan's, but he mustn't be crushed in terms of aura. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have a chance to fight. Clang! The azure dragon's saber was unsheathed. Feng Jixing's figure suddenly spun, and he slashed out as if he was tearing the sky apart. A crazy storm swept out and went straight for Ziyan. Facing Feng Jixing's fierce attack, Ziyan stood there motionlessly. He didn't take out the god-destroying pagoda, and he didn't move at all. However, a figure gradually condensed in front of him. It was an old man with a pale face. Although he looked old, he was wearing a full set of hideous armor. It was the 9 Underworlds Demon King. Boom! The 9 Underworlds Demon King raised his arm and easily dispersed Feng Jixing's saber wind. He smiled and said, Is this all the righteous god of the later generations can do? Lord Ancestor Emperor Ziyan, do you have any orders? Ziyan smiled faintly and said, No orders. The only order is, kill wantonly. Everyone here deserves to die. Swoosh! The 9 Underworlds Demon King's figure flashed and appeared in front of Feng Jixing in the next moment. His crooked fingers swept down like an eagle's claw, bringing with it an intense demonic flame. Bang! How could Feng Jixing block it? His body shot through the hull of great accomplishment like a cannonball. Chapter 1239. As the wind raged, more than 1/3 of the Hall of Great Accomplishment was turned into dust. Feng Jixing was lying in the rubble. He was severely injured after just one attack. This man was so powerful that it was beyond imagination. Without waiting for Xiao to say anything, 2 figures flew over and a dazzling sword light blasted towards the back of the 9 Serenities Demon Monarch. Apart from Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, perhaps no one else would have the guts to do so. Good. The 9th Serenity Demon King laughed wildly. He suddenly shook his arms, and the demonic flame behind him surged. Instantly, it solidified into a blood-red rock layer. Everyone was shocked. Was this crazy old man planning to use this layer to block the double attack from the goddess of grace and the god of love? The power of order and the fire of destruction burst out hundreds of sword lights and attacked the 9th Serenity Demon King's back. Boom, boom, boom. The air was shaking and the fire shot up to the sky. Qin Yin's light and Tang Xiaoxi's fire were very hot. They almost swallowed the 9th Serenity Demon King's body in an instant. However, the strong air waves made them step back, and they couldn't stand still in the air anymore. Demon Realm. In the air, Bai Feng and the Holy King were stunned. They were very nervous. The 9th Serenity Demon King couldn't be killed by the 2 goddesses so easily, could he? As the flames dissipated, everyone was not disappointed. A figure emerged from the flames, and it was the 9th Hell Demonic Monarch. The armor on his body had already been melted by the divine power of the 2 goddesses, revealing his powerful muscles. There was an insufferably arrogant smile on his face as he laughed loudly. Graceful goddess Qin Yin, love goddess Tang Xiaoxi? Looks like you are no match for me. Get out of here. I don't want to kill such cute girls. Get out of here. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi looked at each other with their swords in their hands. They could see the worry in each other's eyes. This time, the demon realm was not a small matter. Just the 9 Underworlds Demon King alone was already impressive. Moreover, there was also Ziyan who had the god-destroying pagoda, which was even more difficult to deal with. Right at this moment, a cool breeze blew past their ears, bringing with it Chu-Chu's words, Highness Yin, Princess Shi, this old man will help you to restrain the 9 Nether Demon King, but I can only restrain him for a short while. Please use your strongest power immediately. Whether or not you can defeat the 9 Nether Demon King will depend on this attack. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi nodded at the same time. Divine power surged in their bodies. Qin Yin's East Flower sword shone brightly. Her strongest attack was very simple. It was the 7th attack of Xian's 7 slashes, which was supported by the power of order, slaying God. Tang Xiaoxi, on the other hand, had a faint smile on her face. She had already entered the state of the demon god, and her palms were filled with flame-breaking fire. What are you two children waiting for? Why don't you scram? The 9 Serenities demon monarch laughed. Could it be that you want to be this old man's wife? Before he could finish laughing, a patch of green suddenly appeared in the air. Vines spun rapidly in the air, and even small white flowers grew on his body. What is this? The 9 Nether Demon King said coldly. He raised his palms and saw strands of grass seeping out from his blood vessels. It was really a little scary. Petty tricks. Deceitful tricks. The 9 Nether Demon King roared. Immediately, the demonic flames around him started to burn the vines that covered the sky. However, the vines were supported by Chu Chu's divine power. They didn't stop burning. Instead, they became tighter and tighter on the 9 Nether Demon King's limbs, making him unable to move. Now, the avatar in the air appeared behind the 9 Nether Demon King. It was like a huge tree hugging the 9 Nether Demon King. This was a rare opportunity. If they missed it, it would be difficult to kill the 9 Nether Demon King again. Whoosh! A sword light fell from the sky. It was Qin Yin's slaying god. Tang Xiaoxi attacked from the side. The flame-breaking fire swallowed the 9 Nether Demon King's body like a river. Boom, 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 boom. A series of piercingly cold explosions rang out continuously, and the powerful airwaves from the domain forced Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi to retreat. Chu Chu had already escaped at the first possible moment. Amidst the continuous explosions brought about by the god-slaying strike, everyone could even hear the miserable howls of the demon monarch of the netherworld. 9 Nether. Bai Feng gritted her teeth. Are you worried about him? Ziyan asked with a smile. Bai Feng shook her head. I'm just worried that the demon realm will lose a powerful expert. If the 9 Nether Demon King is killed like this, then he doesn't deserve to be the first vanguard of the demon realm. It's better to die than to live in shame. A group of saint kings and demon generals of the demon world stared at him. Everyone had their own thoughts. Originally, the 9 underworld demon kings' return to the world was bound to cause a dispute in the demon world. But if he died here, then the throne of the demon world lord would really be firmly held by that despicable person Ziyan. Under the suspicious gazes of the crowd, a man stood up in a sorry state amidst the light and flames. His body had been burnt to the point that it was not complete. His whole body was charred black, revealing pieces of bright red flesh. However, these exposed wounds were wriggling and healing rapidly, showing the astonishing vitality of the owner. The 9 Nether Demon King clenched his fists. His body was covered in demonic flames. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Your attacks can only damage my body, but not my bones. Come, since you want to die, then I will fulfill your wish. I will send you to the purgatory of reincarnation. As expected, he's not dead, Ziyan sneered. Don't let the 9 Nether Demon King be alone. All demon gods of the demon realm, charge. Flatten the Hall of Great Accomplishment and destroy this so-called Eastern God realm. Jia. In the sky, the Devil Luo army let out a low roar. Countless devil generals wielding long blades, iron spears, giant shields, sharp swords, riding on demon tigers, demon deer, giant elephants, and other mounts descended from the sky one after another. They led the Devil Luo army and began to attack those crippled gods who were guarding the various spirit mountains. Their strength was originally not on the same level. Now that they did not have Lin Muyu's holy martial power, the situation in the Eastern Heaven realm was already extremely critical. Zi Yao frowned. At this moment, she had no choice but to fight. The power of balance surged in her palm. Suddenly, heaven and earth turned upside down. Countless Mara crashed into the spirit mountain. Ziyao raised her sword and soared into the sky. Together with Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, the three goddesses besieged the Nine Nether Demon King. Every palm of the Nine Nether Demon King was extremely powerful and overbearing. The three goddesses had no choice but to deal with it carefully. Feng Jixing crawled out from the rubble and sat on the broken roof. Panting heavily, he suddenly stabbed his saber into the ground and stood up. His palms were perfectly round, and gusts of wind force once again wreaked havoc in the air, attacking and killing. Other than that, the 6 great untitled righteous gods, who were led by Long Su, also rushed up to the clouds and fought with Emo Luo and the demon generals. The entire East Heavens quickly became a purgatory on earth. The Ziyan descended from the sky, and the god-destroying pagoda descended. It directly enveloped the body of a righteous god. In an instant, his body disappeared into thin air. The power of the god-destroying pagoda became even more domineering. Be *****, Long Su roared angrily. His long blade carried the majestic power of the earth and slashed toward Ziyan. Can a Mahayana heavenly Tao god be so weak? Ziyan laughed loudly. With just a light punch, he broke Long Su's long saber with a kacha sound. Then he followed up with another punch, directly penetrating Long Su's abdomen. For a moment, blood splattered everywhere, and it was a tragic sight to behold. Another Mahayana heavenly Tao righteous god had fallen. It seemed, the speed of the heavenly melody scroll's apotheosis was not as fast as the demon realm's killing speed. Ziyan's eyes were already filled with viciousness. He had completely forgotten his vow to become a good demon. Not far away, a blood-red storm was wreaking havoc in the sky, tearing groups of Mara into pieces. The one who launched it was a beautiful woman. It was the masterpiece of prophecy goddess Chu Yao. She controlled the blood-red prophecy storm to attack. In this kind of chaotic battle, she was very outstanding. However, this also made it easy for her to be targeted by Ziyan. Courting death. Without another word, Ziyan raised his palm lightly, and the god-destroying pagoda appeared. Layers of tarot towers carried the destructive storm and attacked. He shouted, "Prophecy goddess, die!" Chu Yao's delicate body trembled. Her body seemed to be locked, and she couldn't move. "Yao, be careful!" Feng Jixing roared angrily. He rose from the ground and blocked in front of Chu Yao like a sharp arrow. The azure dragon and scarlet phoenix blades were raised horizontally. A thunderous storm blasted out and went straight for the energy of the god-destroying pagoda. Boom! How could Feng Jixing block the god-destroying pagoda? The thunderous storm was instantly destroyed, and a beam of light poured down on him and Chu Yao. It's over, it's over. Feng Jixing's heart was filled with coldness. His body couldn't move, and he couldn't help but wail in his heart. Who could predict the changes of the world? Perhaps even prophecy goddess Chu Yao didn't know that the two of them would die like this. However, at this moment, a figure descended from the sky with a vigorous starry storm. A single strike destroyed the energy of the god-destroying pagoda. His body knelt in the air, and his cloak fluttered. It was the 7 luminaries' demon emperor. Only he had the strength to forcefully destroy the attack of the god-destroying pagoda. "It's you again, 7 luminaries!" Ziyan roared angrily, and his face was filled with malevolence. "Do you think you can stop me? Come, god-destroying pagoda, destroy this mad god for me." Wang, the god-destroying pagoda let out a piercing whistle, and the entire demon realm turned dark. The energy was almost instantly drained by the god-destroying pagoda. The golden-red flames surged, and the next attack was already locked on to the 7 luminaries' demon emperor. "Feng Jixing, Chu Yao, what are you waiting for? Why aren't you leaving? Do you want to stay and die together?" The 7 luminaries' demon emperor roared and raised his arm. Pangu's axe glowed resplendently, and the surrounding was surrounded by beams of starry energy. This was the prelude to the 7 luminaries' stars' transformation. Feng Jixing turned around and left the sky with Chu Yao. At the same time, he said in a low voice, "Thank you, Demon Emperor." The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor looked at Ziyan with a frivolous expression and grinned. The Mahayana Heavenly Tao's main god can't die anymore. Is that so? Ziyan laughed out loud. Then you shall die first. Boom! The 2 beams of light collided, but it was obvious that the god-destroying pagoda had the upper hand. It quickly dissipated the power of the 7 luminaries, and the beam of light rained down on the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor's body like raging flames. In an instant, the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor's cloth cloak was burned to ashes, and his armor was also burned red. However, the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor stood there motionlessly, and a pair of cold eyes looked at Ziyan. Instead, he suddenly swung the Pango axe in his hand. The axe hit the 9 luminaries' Demon Emperor's back. "Io, which bastard sneak attacked me?" The 9 luminaries' Demon Emperor was furious. Then he received another fierce attack from Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. Instantly, his aura became even weaker, and he could only retreat. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The biting cold power of the god-destroying pagoda continuously attacked the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor's body, but everyone could see that the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor gritted his teeth and endured the strong pain. Golden bone patterns appeared around his body. This was the unyielding bones, the ability of the mad god. Without this unyielding bones, the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor would have been killed by the god-destroying pagoda long ago. Are you guys still waiting to watch the show? The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor roared. Ziyao, Sun Feng, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Jixing, take the Eastern Celestial Realm seeds and leave Mount Deshang. We can't defend this place anymore. Find a new place. If you guys don't die, the Eastern Celestial Realm won't die. Don't worry about me, I'll be here soon. As he spoke, the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor reached out and grabbed the Pango axe that was circling back. He shouted in a low voice, "Split the sky, Pango axe." Boom! A huge spatial crack appeared in front of them. This was one of the Pango axe's abilities. It could split open a spatial door. Chapter 1240. Let's go! Under Ziyao's command, Chu Yao, Qin Yin, and the rest flew into the spatial gate. Feng Jixing wielded his dual blades and once again used wind to block the pursuing Mara's army. Hundreds of experts guarding the Hall of Great Accomplishment entered the alternate dimension. Trying to escape? No way. Chase after them. Ziyan roared. Bai Feng, Holy King, and the rest flew down. Who dares to chase after us? The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor roared. He raised his left hand, and a storm blasted through the air in front of him. It turned into a blazing river and blocked Bai Feng, Holy King, and the rest. No one dared to cross this river. Otherwise, they would be killed. The might of the mad god 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor was not just for show. Ziyan smiled sinisterly. 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor, if you send them off, who will send you off? The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood. The fighting spirit in his eyes burned even brighter. He held Panga's axe and laughed. There's no need. I come and go as I please. Do you scum think you can keep me here? Is that so? A cold voice came from behind the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor. It was the voice of the World Destroyer Holy Emperor, one of the 3 holy emperors of the demon world. Swish! An ice blade blasted straight at the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor's back. However, the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor had already predicted it. He dodged it and stretched out his axe to hook God Destroyer Holy Emperor's extreme frost. He pulled it back and instantly switched places with the World Destroyer Holy Emperor. He laughed and said, "Come, have a taste of the power of the God Destroyer Pagoda." How could the Holy Emperor have thought of such a move? His body was quickly burned into ashes by the God-destroying pagoda. On the other hand, the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor disappeared from the sky above the Hall of Great Accomplishment. The Holy Emperor's screams reverberated through the air. Finally, When the body of the Holy Emperor of World Annihilation turned into a cloud of smoke, the people of the demon realm were all stunned. Humph! The Netherworld Demon King snorted coldly, then lowered his head and rushed into the Hall of Great Accomplishment, as if he didn't want to talk to Ziyan anymore. As for Bai Feng Holy King, he frowned and said, Ancestor Emperor Ziyan, why didn't you retract the power of the God-exterminating pagoda? With your cultivation, you should be able to control the God-exterminating pagoda. Then, world-exterminating Holy Emperor wouldn't have died. Really? Ziyan smiled faintly. What if I don't want to retract this attack from the God-destroying pagoda? This, Bai Feng, don't forget who you are with. Ziyan laughed coldly. Originally, I only needed to use the God-destroying pagoda for a while to melt Violent God's arrogance. That would have been enough to kill him. However, it was that trash, world-exterminating Holy Emperor who interfered and let Violent God go. What's the point of keeping such trash alive? Furthermore, if world-exterminating Holy Emperor doesn't die, how can I become the perfect master of the demon realm? As he said that, Ziyan took a deep breath. Instantly, the remnants of world-exterminating Holy Emperor's demonic energy in the air were sucked into his nose. It was as if he had just eaten a feast, and his face was filled with enjoyment. Devouring and the conversation between the Holy Emperor. It was also through this method that Ziyan became so powerful that he didn't even care about the Demon King of the 9 underworlds. After about an hour, Ziyan had completely absorbed the remnants of world-exterminating Holy Emperor's demonic energy. He felt even more energized. Looking at Mount Dashang below, he said, All right, order the Demon Realm's army to use this Mount Dashang as a base and start spreading out to the surrounding spirit mountains. Send out 2-winged Mara to search for the whereabouts of Xiao, Qin Yin, and the rest. We must eradicate the Eastern Celestial Realm. Yes, Ancestor Emperor. The moonlight was as red as blood. On this night, the Eastern Celestial Realm fell. Countless people were killed, and there were at least 20,000 of them. The once prosperous Eastern Celestial Realm was about to be destroyed. At this time, on Mount Buhai, which was an unknown distance away from the Eastern Celestial Realm, several figures landed like flowing lights. Among them were Ziyao, Feng Jixing, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and the rest. The remaining gods of the Eastern Celestial Realm were all here. Where is this? Qin Yin asked as she looked at the surrounding forest and fertile land. Ziyao glanced at the northern region Tianluan and said, Mount Buhai, a barren land located at the border between the Eastern Divine Realm and the Northern Divine Realm. It is very difficult to detect and can be used as a temporary shelter. Let's not talk too much. Let's find a hidden place to stay first. Many people are injured and need treatment. Do we have anyone who is good at medicine? Chu Yao walked over while holding her injured arm and said, I worked in the spiritual medicine department when I was in the mortal realm. I know how to treat people. That's great. Ziyao looked to the east and couldn't help but say, but I don't know how the Demon Emperor is doing. He's coming. In the air, a group of figures crashed straight into the forest, creating a long ravine. It was the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor who was holding Panga's axe. He slowly stood up and said, Is this place safe? It's still safe. The one who spoke was Nu Shi, the only demon in the Eastern Divine Realm. She blinked her eyes and said very seriously, The aura around here is very chaotic. It is almost cut off from the outside. The ability of the people in the demon realm to sense auras is far inferior to the Mahayana heavenly Tao. So as long as no one snitches, we are safe here. That's good. This place will be the temporary shelter of the Eastern Celestial Realm. The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor's eyes were cold. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth again. He said, Let's go and find a cave to rest in. Chu Yao, help me treat my internal organs. Yes, Demon Emperor. Everyone's eyes were filled with deep worry. Not only did they lose 2 righteous gods in this battle, even a peerless expert like the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor was seriously injured. The demon realm could be said to be like the sun in the sky now. No one in the 4 celestial realms could stop them. One day later, Western Divine Realm, Temple of Light. Xianxia sat on the Divine King's throne and looked at everyone indifferently. She said, "The Eastern Celestial Realm has been destroyed. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, Xiao, Xin, Shaoxi, and the other righteous gods have escaped. Their whereabouts are unknown. Tell me, what should we do now? In the past, when the Eastern Divine Realm was still here, we could still join forces to fight against the enemy. Now, only the Western Divine Realm and the Northern Heaven Realm are left." Li Fei said, "Lord Xian, even the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, a first-tier superior god, was defeated. It can be seen how terrifying the power of the demon realm is now. In addition to the increasingly powerful ancestor Emperor Xian, it is said that there is also the 9 underworlds Demon King. This person is an elder of the demon realm and his strength is unfathomable. In the battle at Mount Dashang, the 9 underworlds Demon King fought against Ziyao, Xin, and Shaoxi without being defeated. It can be seen how powerful this person is. If Ziyan orders the demon realm to attack the Western Divine Realm in full force, what are the chances of us winning?" "I'm afraid we have no chance of winning?" Xiyan smiled bitterly. Eva smiled faintly. "I feel that Ziyan will not be in a hurry to attack the Western Divine Realm." "Why?" Xiyan asked. Eva's blazing angel cloak swayed slightly. She smiled elegantly and said, "Ziyan is a despicable, shameless, and narrow-minded person. He will not allow anyone to pose the slightest threat to him. In the battle at Mount Dashang, we clearly saw through the illusory pawn that at least one person could fight against Ziyan's god-destroying tower without dying. That person is the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor. Therefore, what Ziyan wants to do the most now is to find the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and kill him. I feel that as long as the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor is not found, our Western Divine Realm will be safe." Xian said, "I can't sense Xin's aura anymore. Perhaps she has gone into hibernation and doesn't want to be discovered. The same goes for Ziyao and Shaoxi." The Eastern gods have entered a state similar to hibernation. They don't want to be found by the demon realm. What can we do now? Find them first, protect them, or other choices? Terralyn said, "Lady Xian, the most important thing we should do now is to excavate and find primordial light stones to create more old gods. Otherwise, we won't be able to compete with the demon realm." Xian smiled faintly. "How strong do we need to be to compete with the demon realm now?" Terralyn thought for a while and said, "Eva Blazing Angel has comprehended the heavenly way of Mahayana. Together with Lady Xian, we may be able to fight against Ziyan and the 9 Serenities Demon King. As for the rest, we need at least 5,000 battle angels to have a 50% chance of winning. But we only have a few dozen old gods now. It's simply a drop in the bucket. Even a 10 million demon realm army can't resist." Xian seemed a little tired and asked, "How many demon realm armies are there in the Eastern Divine Realm?" Li Fei said, "About 30 million. Xian said faintly, "It seems that the fall of the Eastern Divine Realm has become a foregone conclusion. Is there any news of you? He has been cultivating outside for a long time. If he returns, this martial god might be able to reverse the situation." "Not yet." Eva shook her head and said, "Searching for a new kind of power is a very difficult thing. Even if he was talented, he can't do it in a day. We still need to give him more time and patience." Shi Yen pursed her red lips and said, "Send 5 battle angels to secretly search for the whereabouts of the Eastern Divine Realm gods. Contact them as soon as possible. If they need help, the Western Divine Realm will definitely go all out." "Yes." Eternal Sword Domain. The back mountain of the Bright Sword Forest seemed to be always misty and rainy. Lin Muyu sat on a rock and entered a state of meditation. This state had lasted for an entire day. Beside him, Leah held a green umbrella to shield him from the wind and rain. Leah found that Lin Muyu's cultivation seemed to be regressing. During meditation, he didn't even open up his aura to block the wind and rain. Instead, he let the wind and rain hit him like a stone statue. She bent down to look at Lin Muyu's face worriedly and said, "Master hasn't woken up for a day and a night. Could he have become stupid from cultivating?" Master talked to Leah. Lin Muyu still didn't say anything. After a long while, he finally opened his eyes slowly. His mind was clear and clear. He stretched his arms and said, "Leah, how long have I been meditating?" "1 day and 1 night. Leah pouted and said, "Master has been ignoring me all this time." Sorry, I was immersed in my state of mind and didn't hear your voice." "Then, has Master's proud sword technique improved?" Lin Mu took a deep breath and said, "About 70%, soon." Leah wants to see." "How do you want to see?" "The power of the proud sword technique." "This," Lin Mu thought for a while and said with a smile, "Watch carefully." He stood up and stared at a mountain peak about 2,000 meters away. His body was majestic and unmoving, but his eyes suddenly flashed with killing intent, as if a sword had swept past. Boom! In the distance, an entire mountain peak suddenly fell horizontally, as if it had been cut diagonally by a sword. Leah opened her mouth and was speechless. Chapter 1241. The sky above the Hall of Great Accomplishment was shrouded in thick clouds. This place had been occupied by the demon realm, so the spiritual power here was almost vacuum-like. Mahayana heavenly gods could not cultivate here at all. Kiki. In the sky, groups of Mara wings formed into battle groups that swept across the sky, looking ferocious and twisted. In the clouds, a flame gradually burned, and then a strong figure appeared. It was a man about 25 years old with a long spear in his hand. He had sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes. The tip of the spear was covered in flames, and the power of the Mahayana heavenly gods was dense around him. This man was none other than Zhao Ding, the god of fire who had just ascended half a day ago. He was a second-class superior god. However, this outstanding expert in the lower planes found that things had changed when he came to the heavenly realm. The gods were long gone, replaced by countless Mara wings. Is the Eastern divinity gone? Zhao Ding's eyes dimmed. If even the Eastern divinity is gone, where can I go after ascending here? What kind of god is this? It's no different from a wandering ghost. While he was deep in thought, a strong aura suddenly came. It was a demon general riding a war tiger. This demon general was too close and had already discovered Zhao Ding's existence. He waved his sword and roared with hundreds of Mara wings. "There's something strange in this cloud. Tear it apart now." Mara wings turned into a bunch of sharp arrows that pierced through the clouds. In an instant, the clouds were scattered and diluted. Zhao Ding could no longer hide. He stood straight in the air with his spear in hand. "What's wrong with the Eastern divinity? What did you bastards do to the Eastern divinity?" "Kiki, it's actually a fish that escaped the net." The demon general laughed. "Looks like you're also a god. Unfortunately, you've come to the wrong place. Mount Great Accomplishment is already the territory of the demon realm. Since you're here to die, don't think about leaving. Little ones, kill them." The Mara wings opened their ferocious mouths and roared as they charged at the god of fire. Courting death. Zhao Ding's gaze turned cold. As his spear swept out, a river of flames appeared, instantly swallowing over 100 of the winged Mara, burning them to ashes and scattering their souls. Motherf *Ker. The demon general was slightly stunned. Only then did he realize that the person in front of him was not an ordinary upright god, but an upright god with a title and special divine power. Otherwise, he would not be so powerful. After all, he had already seen the power of third-rank inferior upright gods without a title like the dragon sequence. It was just so. However, the person in front of him was completely different. His power was at the same level as Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Feng Jixing. Blow the magic shell and call for reinforcements. The demon general raised his palm and ordered loudly. Not far away, a winged Mara wings puffed out its mouth and blew an ear-piercing sound. Suddenly, purple clouds in the distant sky began to move over. Those were not ordinary clouds, but clouds that contained countless Mara troops. Once the army arrived, no matter how strong Zhao Ding was, he would not be able to fight against them. Where are the gods of the Eastern God realm? Zhao Ding asked in a low voice. I don't know. The demon general roared. You don't know? Zhao Ding shot forward like an arrow, his spear piercing through the demon general's left arm with a poochie sound. With a flick of his wrist, flames sprayed out, directly burning off the demon general's arm. He continued to ask, where did the gods of the Eastern Celestial Realm go? Speak. The demon general's face was pale. I don't know, I'm just a nobody, Zhao Ding's spear swept out, directly cutting the demon general's body from his battle tiger into two. The tip of the spear was filled with the power of dragon fire. It was not something an ordinary person could block. However, at this moment, a series of pa-pa-pa-pa sounds came from behind. It was the prelude to traveling through the plains. In the blink of an eye, a beautiful figure appeared behind him. She was wearing soft silver armor, and her exquisite figure was very alluring. Even the way she walked in the air was so enchanting. It was the most beautiful woman in the demon realm, Holy King Bai Feng. Hee, another soft-skinned god coming to die? Holy King Bai Feng put one hand on her hip and smiled seductively. Who are you? Zhao Ding did not panic. He did not even have the intention to leave. I am Bai Feng, one of the holy kings of the demon realm, a direct subordinate of ancestor Emperor Xian. Holy King Bai Feng smiled faintly. And who are you? I'm the newly promoted fire god Zhao Ding. Oh, so it's Lord Fire God. Bai Feng giggled. If I were you, I would immediately escape from this place as fast as possible. This isn't some amusement park. It's not a place where you can come and go as you please. It's fine if I'm here, but if Lord Ancestor Emperor were to come, you would only be crushed to ashes. Is that so? Zhao Ding squinted his eyes and smiled. But this is the Eastern God realm, my future home. Where can I go if I leave this place? Why don't you understand? The smile on Bai Feng's face suddenly disappeared. He unsheathed the sword at his waist and slashed out. Zhao Ding's reaction speed was extremely fast. He raised his long spear to block. Instantly, a peng sound rang out. Zhao Ding had not used his full strength. The two of them were actually evenly matched. However, the endless flames and demonic flames continued to collide, emitting a majestic sound. Under the cover of this sound, Bai Feng looked straight at his opponent and said, "The laws of the world have always been balanced. I don't want the demon realm to be destroyed, nor do I want the god realm to be destroyed. Although Mount Deshang has been conquered, the gods of the Eastern God realm have already escaped. They are hiding in an unknown place. If you are smart enough, hurry up and leave. Don't seek death here. Otherwise, if Ancestor Emperor Xian or the 9 Underworlds Demon King comes, you, the Fire God, will become history." Zhao Ding was shocked. He pondered for a few seconds and understood Bai Feng's words. He suddenly pulled out his spear and shot it towards Bai Feng Holy King. Suddenly, with a dang, Bai Feng Holy King retreated a few hundred meters. Zhao Ding also flew away from Mount Deshang under the cover of a soaring flame. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Bai Feng Holy King looked at Zhao Ding's direction indifferently. However, at this moment, a figure slowly condensed behind her. It was Ziyan who was holding the god-slaying tower. Immediately, Mara on both sides knelt down and shouted, "Long live the god." Bai Feng Holy King's body trembled, but she didn't say a word. Ziyan sneered and said, "Bai Feng, you seem to be sympathizing with these Mahayana Heavenly Tao's main gods?" "I didn't. Ancestor Emperor, please investigate." "You didn't? If you didn't, why did you let this fire god Zhao Ding go?" Bai Feng's body trembled again and said, "I just couldn't bear it. Ancestor Emperor, please give the order. I will immediately bring people to kill this fire god." "No need." Ziyan sneered, "A mere fire god is nothing to be afraid of. In my eyes, there are only 3 people worth mentioning." "Which 3? Berserk God 7 luminaries, Moon God Shi Yen, Martial God Lin Muyu. In this world, only these 3 people can make me look them in the eye." Ziyan sneered, "It's a pity that Lin Muyu seems to have disappeared suddenly. Shi Yen is hiding in the Western Divine Realm. She must be scared out of her wits. Now, even the 7 luminaries demon emperor is hiding. The 6 realms are so boring now. Bai Feng smiled faintly and said, I'm afraid that the 3 of them are no match for Ancestor Emperor. After all, the God-slaying tower is almost perfect. So, are you worried that I will kill all these main gods and unify this world of light? Ziyan's eyes were full of provocation, as if Bai Feng would die if he said anything wrong. Bai Feng frowned and suddenly knelt down slowly and said, Ancestor Emperor, please understand. Bai Feng is only a mere holy king. I have been following Ancestor Emperor since the Fekta Temple. At that time, Ancestor Emperor said that the demon world must take revenge on those gods who represent justice. But now, there are countless gods who have died under the demon world's army. Just the eastern and northern heaven realms alone have more than 100,000 crippled gods. It should be enough, not like now. Now what? Ziyan raised his eyebrows. Bai Feng murmured, now. His Majesty, the Ancestor God Emperor, has not only sent 20 million devil luos to attack the 4 great god realms, but he has also attacked the planes under their jurisdiction. The mortals of tens of thousands of planes have been slaughtered and devoured by the devil luos, and the situation is indescribably miserable. This is not revenge, but sin. Didn't Your Majesty, the Ancestor God Emperor, say that even devils have their own paths? If there is no Tao, where is the future of the demon world? Bai Feng. Ziyan suddenly said sternly, you said so many treasonous words. Do you know that this is a capital crime? I know. Bai Feng knelt there quietly and said, when I said these words, I was already prepared to face death. Ziyan snorted coldly and said, I can tell you that my Tao is to devour and take revenge. I sent many Mara to kill in the mortal world in order to collect more demon chi and evil chi. The stronger the evil chi, the stronger my power. If my Mara can slaughter all the planes under the jurisdiction of the 6 worlds, my power will be enough to fight against the ancestor of the sky beyond heaven, or even surpass him. Don't you want to see the day when the demon world unifies the 3,000 worlds? Bai Feng murmured, if everything is built on killing, what's the use of unifying the worlds? Ha! Ziyan sneered and looked coldly at Bai Feng, the holy king, and said, you disappoint me too much. Weakness will weaken your power. As the saying goes, wolves eat meat when they travel 1,000 miles, dogs eat shit when they travel 1,000 miles. Look at you now. You look so sanctimonious. Do you want to ascend to the Mahayana heavenly Tao? Bai Feng, I won't kill you, but I will keep you alive. I will let you see how I rely on killing and conquering to achieve the Tao of the demon world. I will let you see how I tear those hypocritical righteousness into pieces. Bai Feng. Chapter 1242. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. The invasion and conquest of the demon realm was still ongoing, and the conferment of the Mahayana Heavenly Way Heavenly Sound Scroll was also ongoing. In 2 months, a total of 27 righteous gods appeared. Among them, 7 were righteous gods with titles and special abilities. Wei Chou, titled God of Justice, first-tier middle god, belonging to the Eastern Divine Realm. Lu Kuei, titled God of Contracts, second-tier middle god, belonging to the Eastern Divine Realm. Carolyn, titled Goddess of Stars, third-tier upper god, belonging to the Western Divine Realm. Han Gu, titled God of Tides, second-tier middle god, belonging to the Eastern Divine Realm. Te Luo, titled God of Ice, first-tier middle god, belonging to the Northern Divine Realm. Xia Yan, titled God of Rain, third-tier upper god, belonging to the Eastern Divine Realm. Luo Wen, titled God of Thunder, second-tier upper god, belonging to the Southern Divine Realm. Among the 27 new righteous gods, God of Thunder, Goddess of Stars, and God of Rain were the strongest, followed by Wei Chou and Te Luo. Among them, Wei Chou had the ability to punish. However, the new righteous gods couldn't really change the situation of the Divine Realm. The demon realm was getting stronger and stronger. Ziyan absorbed the evil aura from the massacre, and his strength was getting stronger day by day. Coupled with the increasingly perfect god-destroying tower, there were few righteous gods in the world who could fight against Ziyen. Not a sea or a mountain, evergreen all year round. Swoosh. In the sky, a figure dragged a long trail of clouds as he flew to the ground. At the same time, he was dragging the corpse of a huge goshawk. This goshawk was ridiculously huge, weighing at least 500 kilograms. However, under the righteous god's dragging, it was like carrying a chicken. As the sound of grass being crushed was heard, the person landed on an empty space in the forest and dragged the goshawk to a straw shed in front of them. He said with respect, "Your Highness, I've returned from hunting. This goshawk is very heavy, and it'll be enough for everyone to eat for 3 to 5 days." In the straw shed, Qinin walked out and said with a smile, "Thanks for your hard work, Wei Chou. You don't have to be so polite. You don't have to call me your Highness anymore." But, Wei Chou said helplessly, "I'm already used to calling you that. I don't know when to call you that. Your Highness, please continue as usual. Before Lin General returns, let me call you that." "All right, I can't do anything to you." Qinin said, "Send Eagle to the kitchen, let Big Brother Feng and the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor take care of it. Many of the trash gods are starving, they urgently need something to eat." Yes, this subordinate understands. Qinin also accompanied him over. The so-called kitchen was actually an illegal building under a towering tree. Once they saw Wei Chou dragging the giant eagle over, the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor smiled. He put away the knife in his hand and said, "Feng Jixing, it's time to get to work. Come over and kill the eagle with me for the meat." God of Tides, Han Gu, summon a stream to wash the meat. Han Gu had a look of helplessness. I'm a god of tides, but this is all I can do." The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor glared and said, "What are you throwing a tantrum for? I'm the king of the gods of the Eastern God realm, but I'm still here killing chickens for you bastards. Have I ever thrown a tantrum? Since you can't beat them, then just bear with it. Don't throw a tantrum, it's useless." Han Gu was speechless. "Yes, Your Highness, this subordinate will obey your teachings." The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor looked to the other side and said, "Where's Fire God Zhao Ding? Let him come back and start cooking soup. Don't be idle all day. When it's time to work, you still have to work." "Yes, Demon Emperor." A person came out from the bushes, holding a spear in one hand and a few dead wild rabbits in the other. He laughed loudly. "Look, Demon Emperor, the prey in Mount Buhai is really fat. A wild rabbit weighs over 100 pounds. How is this a fucking wild rabbit? It's more like a wild bull." The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor stared and said, "Have you ever seen a wild bull that only weighs 100 pounds? That's not a wild bull, that's a calf. You're the most ignorant and unreliable fire god I've ever seen. Don't say anything else, hurry up and boil the water." Yes. A group of people sat around the giant eagle's corpse and began to pluck its feathers. This group of people seemed to be used to this kind of mortal life and were actually enjoying it. None of the goddesses made a move. Qin, Ziyao, and Tang Xiaoxi just gathered their skirts and sat on stone chairs to watch. Ziyao said, "Demon Emperor, did you know that the Northern Heaven realm was attacked a few days ago and thousands of useless gods died?" "I know, it's just a small attack from the demon realm. As long as Ziyen and the 9 underworlds Demon King don't personally go, they won't be able to take down Blackrock City. We don't have to worry. Looks like..." Ziyao pursed her red lips and said, "Looks like Ziyan's attention is still on us. These days, his tens of millions of Mara have almost all been scattered, looking for traces of us all over the world. Will we be discovered here?" "Don't worry." The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor looked at the sky and said, "Do you see that light blue enchantment? That is the starry enchantment that I have painstakingly practiced for many years. Not to mention Mo Luo, even if Ziyen flies over from the sky, he may not necessarily be able to see us on Mount Sea Mountain, let alone those Mo Luo. In front of the starry enchantment, the Mo Luo army is simply blind. Don't worry, by the way, you must preserve your northern heavenly will well. Otherwise, You will still be able to use the northern heavenly wheel to find us, and it will be enough to see through the mystery of the starry enchantment. Yes, the northern sky wheel has always been well hidden. Don't worry. The 7 luminaries demon emperor said as he plucked his feathers, I don't know how that brat Yu is progressing. If he doesn't come back, we won't be able to counterattack. However, the tens of millions of Mara in the demon world aren't scary. The most scary ones are Ziyen, 9 Nether, and that god-destroying tower. As long as we destroy these 3 great artifacts, we can return to Mount Deshang and rebuild the order of the Eastern God world. Yes, not far away, Qinin moved her red lips and said, Big brother, you will be back soon, I can feel it. That's for the best. The 7 luminaries demon emperor laughed. After secretly cultivating for so long, that brat must have reached a new level of realm. In addition to the power of the holy martial arts, Yu's position in the god world is really important. And, yes, this eagle is actually a male, it actually has eggs. Demon world, empty space. There was nothing here, not even air. The ground was barren. There were no buildings or mountains. There was only nothingness. It was so nothingness that it made people feel a little flustered. Sha sha. Amidst the sound of footsteps, 2 figures slowly walked forward. One was Ziyen, and the other was the Netherworld demon monarch. Senior 9 Nether, is there really the treasure you mentioned here? Yes. The Netherworld demon monarch nodded and said, Your Majesty might not know this, but this is a treasure that all sovereigns want to obtain. Even in the sky beyond heaven, those old things would definitely want to take it for themselves. What kind of treasure is it? Ziyen squinted his eyes and smiled. 9 Nether Demon Emperor also smiled, an invincible army. Army? Ziyen was stunned. Doesn't the demon world already have Mara army? Are tens of millions of devils not enough? You just had to bring me to this plane of nothingness where even birds don't shit. You made me so flustered. 9 Nether Demon Emperor couldn't help but smile. Your Majesty, the Mahayana heavenly paths gods are like dumplings being dropped into a pot. Ice god, contract god, fire god, and so on are appearing one after another. Does your Majesty really want to wait until the Mahayana heavenly paths laws and gods are all sealed before you realize that the demon world's power is not enough to keep them in check? Only by obtaining this army can we be invincible. Alright, tell me honestly, what kind of army is this? An army of only 100 people. A look of yearning and hope appeared on the Netherworld demon monarch's face as he said, This army is invincible and indestructible. Even when facing the ancient god race, they could easily destroy them. Before they were sealed, they were the strongest army in the 6 realms. What kind of army is this? The Protoss army of the ancient demon realm, the ruler, also has another name, the Incubus Gladiators. Each of the 100 Incubus is an outstanding gladiator. Even if they were to face an upper-level god, they wouldn't be a problem. Moreover, among the 100 Incubus, there are 10 extremely tyrannical Incubus vanguards. Every one of them has strength that is second only to a first-class upper god. Oh! Ziyan's eyes turned cold. Aren't these rulers' army invincible? Can they be controlled? If not, I think it's better not to break the seal. Your Majesty, please rest assured. The method to break the seal is a drop of blood from the demon world's lord. Once they break the seal, they will immediately swear loyalty to your Majesty. What do you get out of this? Ziyen was a smart person. 9 Nether Demon Emperor laughed and said, Of course it's great. After this old man helps your Majesty conquer the 6 realms, your Majesty, please promise me that you will be the ruler of the 6 realms. However, the demon world must be handed over to this old man. Your Majesty is the world ruler, and this old man is the demon world ruler. Ah, old man, what a good plan. We're here. The 9 underworlds demon monarch pointed forward. There was a huge iron box. The surface of the iron box was filled with complex runes, he said. The rulers are sealed inside. Your Majesty, please undo the seal. Ziyan stepped on the iron box. His eyes were filled with a faint coldness. 9 Nether, don't play tricks. I don't care how strong these rulers are. If they don't follow my will, I will use the god-destroying pagoda to completely destroy them. Yes, your majesty, please rest assured. Ziyan raised his finger. Plop. A drop of blood fell on the iron box. Immediately, the runes on the box shone brightly. Ziyan couldn't help but fly into the air. Boom! The huge iron box exploded. One by one, black figures stood up from the ground. Their eyes had a blood-red luster. Each of them had a cold gaze and killing intent. At the same time, that biting cold power made even Ziyan, the lord of the demon world, feel a great threat. Just like what Nine Nether said, these rulers and nightmare warriors' strength had reached a terrifying level. Nine Nether Demon Emperor's eyes were calm. Come and see your master. The group of nightmare warriors all knelt to Ziyan. Greetings, master. Ziyan laughed so hard that tears almost came out. Good, good, good. This is great. From now on, you are my royal army. If there is an enemy that needs to be eliminated, I will send you. Thank you, master. Let's go. Follow me back to the demon world and wait for my orders. Yes, master. The nightmare warriors flew up one by one, flying into the distance along with the purple flames. Only 10 people were left behind. These 10 people had gloomy eyes. They were the legendary Nightmare Vanguard. Each of them stood there very calmly, like stone statues. Nine Nether Demon Emperor smiled and said in a low voice, "Why aren't you listening and following master? Remember, who is your true master? Once I give the order, you must kill anyone who dares to do so." Yes, master. Chapter 1243. Eternal Sword Domain, Bright Sword Forest. Petals fluttered in the air. The pear trees here had already begun to bear young fruits. In a few more months, they would be full of fruit. Under the pear tree, Lin Muyu and Elder Tiannan brewed the last cup of tea. Do you really have to leave? Elder Tiannan was reluctant to part with this junior who was both a disciple and a friend. Yes, I have to. I don't have much time. Lin Muyu smiled. Thank you, senior, for taking care of me for so many days. I am eternally grateful. What are you talking about? Elder Tiannan was a little sad. At this moment, a whistling sound came from the sky. A person passed through the spatial wall and landed. It was the golden-robed lord of Dawn City, Meng Taifeng. He carried a huge metal box and said, "Martial God, I am here to send you off." Lin Muyu stood up and smiled. City Lord Meng, you are here too? We are friends. How could I not come? Meng Taifeng suddenly threw the heavy metal box on the ground. Boom! A cloud of dust flew into the air as he said, "A total of 175 divine gems. Not a single one is missing. I even went to the main altar of the Hunters' Union to plunder some divine gems. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get these 175. Lin Muyu was moved. You are not keeping any? You can have them all. Meng Taifeng was a straightforward person. He smiled. If you want to be friends with me, that is enough. If you are not doing well in the 6 realms, you can come to the Eternal Sword Domain. We can drink and talk. What's wrong with that? Yes. Lin Muyu put all the radiant primordial gems into her cosmos sack. She then cupped her fists. It is getting late. I should leave. We will meet again if fate allows it. Brother, take care. Meng Taifeng said. Elder Tiannan nodded with a smile. Take care. Lin Muyu signaled with her eyes. She took Ria and Zhang Wei with her. In the air, a ray of light bloomed. It was a revelation from Fuxi. Lin Muyu looked at the people on the ground. Farewell, everyone from the Eternal Sword Domain. Shi Han, Ru Yen, and the others bowed and said their goodbyes. Moving like a sword, Lin Muyu's body turned into a beam of cold light that pierced through the spatial wall. Suddenly, a deep passage of time appeared in front of her, leading to the 6 realms. This spatial wall was extremely thick, and it was far more difficult to break through than ordinary spatial cracks. However, Lin Muyu had easily opened it. One could imagine how powerful she was. Even Meng Taifeng, who was in the pear jar, could not help but frown and say, "Is this the power of AO sword tactics? I'm afraid. He's already the strongest person in the world." Old man Tiannan remained silent and did not deny it. In the sky, the 3 streaks of light disappeared into the tunnel. Lin Mu brought Ria and Chang Wei with her, heading straight for the 6 realms. In the blink of an eye, they had left the eternal sword domain where they had stayed for several months. Eastern God Realm, Hall of Great Accomplishment. Ziyan sat on the Divine King's throne. He held onto the God-destroying pagoda and said, "Has everything been arranged?" "Everything has been arranged." Holy King Bai Feng frowned and said, "If we really do this, is your majesty sure that the distress message you created will attract the gods of the Western Divine Realm?" "Of course." Ziyan squinted his eyes and smiled. "All false illusions are but a thought in the mind. With my cultivation, I may not be able to sway Xian's will, but I can sway Eva. As long as Eva believes me, everything will be easy. Where is the only way from the Western Divine Realm to the Immortal Mountain?" A demon general said, "Changming Mountain, a spiritual mountain in a giant plain of the lower realms. It is very vast, about 100 miles long. As long as we lie in ambush on Changming Mountain, those battle angels will definitely not discover us. We will kill as many as they come." "All right, then we will lie in ambush on Changming Mountain. Your subordinate will arrange it right away. How many Mara do you need? Please tell us, Your Majesty." Ziyan raised his hand and said, "We don't need just 1 Mara. This emperor will let Xian and the other stubborn angels know the power of the ancient demon race. 9 underworlds, heed my command." "Yes, Your Majesty." The 9 underworlds demon king nodded with a gloomy expression. "Lead the nightmare warriors to Changming Mountain and lay in ambush. Wait for the battle angels of the Western Divine Realm to pass by. Remember, kill as many as they come. Don't let me down." "Yes, Your Majesty, please rest assured. The nightmare warriors will definitely complete their mission." "Yes." The 9 underworlds demon king turned around, and the 100 nightmare warriors outside the palace followed him into the sky, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Holy King Bai Feng wanted to say something, but stopped himself and stood there motionlessly. "What do you want to say?" Ziyan asked. Bai Feng said, "The 9 underworlds demon king has never been convinced by Your Majesty. Aren't Your Majesty worried that the 9 underworlds demon king will lead the nightmare warriors to cause trouble?" Cause trouble?" Ziyan smiled faintly and said, "One attack from the god-destroying pagoda is enough to destroy half of his nightmare warriors. Why should I be afraid? Moreover, I'm sending him to eliminate the battle angels of the Western Divine Realm. It all depends on whether that old guy is willing to work for me. If he does his best, then everything will be fine. If he fails, then I will have a reason to punish him." Bai Feng frowned and said, "I hope so." In the Western Divine Realm, the battle angels were sitting quietly in the Radiant Temple. Eva closed her eyes, and her mind was calm. Suddenly, she felt a strand of spiritual will enter her mind, forming an image in her mind. It was the image of the Immortal Mountain, but the top of the mountain was covered with Mara's army. A figure was struggling under the siege of the winged Mara. It was Qin. Even the East Flower Sword had been partially destroyed. Faint golden blood flowed on her robe, making it look extremely terrifying. "Ah!" Eva suddenly opened her eyes, and her face was pale. "What's wrong, Eva?" Xian asked with concern. "I felt a terrifying scene." "What terrifying scene?" "Sister, I saw Xin just now. She sent a distress signal from the Immortal Mountain. Although it was only a weak spiritual will, I'm sure that it was Xin. She is covered in wounds and needs our help." "The Immortal Mountain?" Xian was shocked. Could it be that the gods of the Eastern Divine Realm are hiding in the Immortal Mountain? Yes, they have been discovered by the Demon Realm. We must send reinforcements, or else the Eastern Divine Realm will disappear completely. Xian took a deep breath and frowned, not saying anything. "Lady Xian, shall we go?" Terralyn said. Li Fei also said, "Yes, lady, what are we waiting for?" Our strength is not enough to reverse the situation. Xian looked at everyone calmly and said, even if we go, it will be useless. Not only will we not be able to save Xin, but we will also be buried under the God-destroying tower. But as gods, we should first have humanity. If we watch the Eastern Divine Realm be destroyed and do nothing, what kind of gods are we? Terralyn was a little excited. Teray and the others also seemed very excited, and all of them were eager to try. Then let's send reinforcements. Xian gritted her teeth as she said, pass down my order. All 31 old gods who can fly are to follow me into battle. The Western God Realm must protect the last bloodline of the Eastern God Realm even if they have to give it their all. Rays of light flew out of the Temple of Light one after another. This time, the Western Divine Realm almost turned out in full force. However, Xian and Eva did not know that the seeds of danger had been planted in the distance. Heaven's vault, gold. The golden sky suddenly brightened, and the figures of Lin Muyu, Ria, and Zhang Wei landed on the rocks one after another. Miue could not help but laugh. Little Junior, you really came back safely? Lin Muyu nodded, then cupped her fists and said respectfully to Fuxi, Disciple Lin Muyu greets Master. Good. Fuxi's gaze was gentle as he looked at his proudest disciple. He smiled and said, Looks like you've already cultivated the power of sword domain. You really didn't disappoint me. These two are? Oh, Lin Muyu said, This is Zhang Wei, a follower I took in the Eternal Sword Realm. This girl is Ria, a disciple I took in the Eternal Sword Realm. Ria, come and greet Grandmaster. Ria's eyes widened, and she quickly knelt down. Ria greets Grandmaster. Fuxi beamed. Good. I did not think that the School of Great Void would have another disciple, and a talented one at that. You have finally started a family. I dare not disobey you, Grandmaster. I will first take Ria as my disciple, and only after you give me your permission can I take her in. I agree. Fuxi raised his hand and smiled. Ria, from now on, you will be the only third-generation disciple in our school. I hope you will cultivate well, keep the lives of the 6 realms in mind, and fight for order. Yes, thank you, Grandmaster. Ria was very obedient, and Fuxi liked her. Miue, Luanxing, and the others surrounded him, asking questions. But Fuxi said, there is not much time left for you. You must return to the Eastern God Realm immediately. How is the Eastern God Realm, Master? The Hall of Great Accomplishment has fallen, and the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Xiao, and the others are hiding in the Buhai Mountains, cultivating. But there is something more urgent that you must do. Please tell me, Master. The Lord of the Demon Realm, Ziyen, created an illusion to deceive Eva, making Eva think that the gods of the Eastern God Realm are trapped in the Immortal Mountain, so the gods of the Western God Realm are already on their way to reinforce the Immortal Mountain. But along the way, the 9 underworlds Demon Emperor has led 100 nightmare warriors in ambush on a spiritual mountain called the Eternal Brightness Mountain. You must immediately stop this disaster, and only you have the ability to do so. Although I can see through everything in the Divine Realm, Ziyen has already laid down a barrier, and my telekinesis cannot penetrate it to inform Xian, so you must go alone. Yes, Master. Lin Muyu nodded. Disciple will go to the Eternal Brightness Mountain now, Master. Please tell me where it is. Okay. Fuxi nodded, and his telekinesis pointed into the distance. Lin Muyu's mind immediately became clear, and she confirmed the specific location of the Eternal Brightness Mountain. She then raised her long sword and said, Ria, Chang Wei, follow me to the Eternal Brightness Mountain. Be quick. Yes, Master. Yes, Martial God. You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.